Is it okay if I call this one Two Pros No?
Yeah, why not?
Welcome back, brother. How you been?
Been busy, been really putting in the work for the show Saturday. Did like a full camp for the first time in years since I actually fought, just to see what it would feel like again and do. And yeah, I went through hell for it, but I did everything I needed to do. So
When you just say like a full camp, you mean like 12 weeks?
yeah, I outlined
strictly for this.
12 weeks. Went with Matt Owen, and I outlined my training.
Matt Owen for strength and
Yep.
conditioning.
So I kind of started it because I wanted to do, I've learned a lot from Matt and I learned a lot from George before about how to organize periodization of training. And so what I did was I outlined 12 weeks with a down week in between, and the days I was going to do jiu-jitsu, the days I was coaching, the days I was trying to do wrestling, and really fine tune not just the aerobic side, but the anaerobic, because I requested 10 minutes. And all the other tournaments, every other thing I ever did, I kind of just did it being in shape. But this one, originally it was Anthony Smith. And then when it was Kelvin, I'm like, I'm going to put my best foot forward and see how I feel at 39 doing this.
I heard that, if you don't mind me taking a step back, I heard that Anthony Smith was down, but he like hurt his back really bad, I heard.
Done, signed through Adam Sella. He reached out through Tracy Taylor, who's friends with him, and he was in. And what happened was he needed some type of surgery.
Yeah.
I kind of remember, I think, what it was, but it's also not my information to give. So maybe sometime later. I was really looking forward to that because I think that was a really good matchup. And in a lot of ways, I think Kelvin might be tougher. And the reason I say that is because Anthony Smith were about same size, length. These shorter guys, they're harder to submit. They're harder to keep down because they can just ball up and get up. It's going to be more of a wrestling match than a jiu-jitsu match.
Is it gi or no gi?
It's no gi.
Ooh, okay.
So 10 minesse.
Athleticism means more than.
Well, and it's like, guys built like EJ Brooks, right? You're not going to arm bar them. You're not going to triangle choke them. They're hard to submit.
Not with that attitude.
Well, true, but you know what I'm saying? Like, they're springy. They'll get up. Like, you gotta get top position and get to the back. So it definitely is a little bit different strategy-wise than what it would have been for Anthony Smith, because I've been doing a lot more wrestling for this one.
How long ago did Anthony drop out and then it switched to Kelvin? Like, how many weeks did you have to prepare?
So my preparation kind of never really changed. I just added more wrestling, but I think it was right around 12 weeks out or something.
Okay. And
so Kelvin actually had a fight that was originally supposed to be in October. They moved it up, and everybody was texting me talking like, oh, well, he blew weight again. But they moved the fight up like several weeks so he could be on Noche. And so I'm like, I don't really care.
Did he not? I don't know if you're going to know the answer to this. Like, do they just assign that? I mean, he had to have agreed to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a bout agreement. So, like, yes, I understand that it got moved up 6 weeks, but, like, at the end of the day, you put your name on the dotted line. You said you would be this weight at this time at this place.
Yeah, there's always those tactics behind the scene where there's a little bit more money, or, if you move to this date, we'll add 3 fights to your contract and re-up. So James Krause was always really good at that.
Be a good businessman, be a man of the business.
I mean, Krause was great at that. He showed up to a weigh-in and he was like, I'll fight this guy. He doesn't have an opponent, but it's going to take this, and this contract, and he got it. So
just wanted to take a second to pause the action and just tell you guys, thank you so much for consuming our content. Easy Talk is a passion project. This podcast is just a bunch of like-minded people coming together to produce some cool stuff and talk to some cool people. One of the things I would very much appreciate is if you could possibly like the video or subscribe to the channel, just because it helps us in the algorithm and ultimately to grow, to get more exposure to everybody, including ourselves, and ultimately just make a better product. Take a second. I'd greatly appreciate it, and on with the show.
It's, being a company man, if you do it right, sometimes pays out.
But on the flip side of that, though, it's like,
yeah, you did.
Will they hold that against him at the same time? I hear that his next fight, word around the grapevine, is possibly Kelvin versus Adesanya again.
That would be good.
That would be a good fight.
That would be a really good one. Yeah, it's
rumors.
Well, and
on Reddit.
That's what's cool going against him is like, that's a name, like he's in the Hall of Fame. He's been in some of the biggest fights that we've seen.
He won tough. He beat Uriah Hall and won tough.
Yeah.
He was a tough winner.
He beat Michael Bisping, and he had that fight with Israel Adesanya, and he's really put some shit together. And so I'm looking forward to the challenge of it compared to Anthony Smith, who would have been, a retired UFC fighter, still really high level, still really good, and going to an active one. Actually, I'm surprised Adam pulled this off. I don't know how the hell he did it, but I'm really grateful for it.
Yeah, I gotta be honest with you. We were all like positively shocked. Like when Frazier sent me the text message, like, "What? Look at this!" I was like, "Oh shit!" Like we were all. When I say shocked, I don't want to mean like in like a negative way. We mean like, "Whoa!" Like that's huge. Like that's a big name for Jordan to fight. I'm curious to ask you this: do you feel like in a lot of ways, by matching up with some of these guys from the UFC or ex-UFC or what have you, you're kind of fulfilling a dream?
Yes and no. I mean, if I had to say that, that generation was one I felt like I should have been in, I would agree with that. I just didn't have the luck and the opportunity that comes with that. But if you ask anybody, even locally, that's been in the UFC here and that have stepped on the mats with me, even at the age I'm at now, they'll tell you, wow, didn't know you really kind of had that. And it's like, well, I've been doing this for years. And, there is a bit of mix of politics, having the right manager, having the right timing. With the Shamrock thing, they kept me out for a bit, and then COVID killed a lot of the people that were even there. I tried to get several fights after COVID, and then 2 weeks out, someone would pull. Another 2 weeks out, someone would pull.
A lot of people retired. Like from our generation, a lot of people retired after or during COVID.
Yeah, and then the only things I was getting was like, hey, we have a fight for you on 2 weeks' notice for Bellator against this 25-year-old phenom. And I'm like, okay, so 2 weeks' notice is actually 1 week of training hard and then cutting weight for a guy that has been training for this date for 8 to 12 weeks. I know what you're doing here. You see the 3 Bellator fights on here, and you think you can springboard them, and it just didn't become fun that way. I actually got offered to fight Alex Pereira when he was in LFA. That was a 2-week notice fight. Again, I'm like, so I told him, give me 8 weeks. Yeah, he was 2-1 at the time. We all know who he is now, but back then I still would have done it with 8 weeks just because.
Well, high risk, high reward.
Well, that's where I was, It's like, but for 2 weeks and 1 week of that cutting weight to make the weight, it's just that I wasn't getting offered anything advantageous. And Bellator was really good at this too, like to build some of their guys up, and that's just kind of how it happens. And after COVID, that's where I fit in.
Every promotion, with the exception of the UFC, at this point.
Yeah. So
every promotion does this now. Like I used to make this comment about like how MMA is becoming boxing, MMA is becoming boxing, and what I meant by that was like the old boxing way was like you have as many amateur fights as you want to have to get your experience, and then once you go pro, it's like it's not sport anymore, it's business. And then you get with a manager, you get with a promotion, or a lot of times the manager has their own promotion, and they'll get you to like 10-0, 15-0 against like guppies, and then you'll have like your first real fight, but like you'll get some money with it too. Same thing has happened to MMA at this point, where like if you look at Cage Warriors, if you look at ONE F's, not necessarily one, but if you look at Cage Warriors, LFA, all these other guys, it's usually a side versus everybody else.
Yep.
And what they're doing is they're basically just like packing the sides, getting the fighters that the fights that they need to kind of, I don't want to say pad the record, but build them. Maybe because they're marketable, maybe because their fighting style is exciting, maybe just because they have the right connections or they're at the right gym around the right people. But in a lot of ways, MMA has now become that. I was having this conversation with Pat and Dakota and Evan and basically all the UFC fighters, including Sean. And it's like the way to the UFC has just fundamentally changed. When we were younger, you were either the biggest fish, right? And then you finally got signed, or you got on the Ultimate Fighter, or you had some highlight and you got noticed on social media. These were like the 3 paths, right?
Yep.
You were either the best guy, tough, or you were...
you knew somebody.
Or you knew somebody. Yeah, I guess 4. Now it's get 4-0, 5-0, 6-0, fight nobodies, then get on Dana White's Contender Series and have like a flashy finish.
Yeah, it's even back then, I wish I would have looked at it more like a business, and people have heard this story several times. Like, I thought I was working with people that actually were trying to elevate me, and they weren't. So that was my mistake, and it's one you don't really recover from because time is lost. But I definitely feel like I definitely feel like I'd at least deserved to get the chance to have that, what they would call them like minor league baseball, the cup of coffee, where you come up, you get a 3-fight deal, let's see what you got. Skill-wise, I think, and mentally, when I was all in on it, I would have liked to have seen that. It just didn't happen. So now it's it's the guys behind me's turn, and I'm glad the door's open for them. Guys like Evan. Max should probably be there soon.
Choriev?
Yeah, he's killer. And then Dakota, hopefully he gets called back soon. But it's good to see all these guys get in now. It's just that path was different for us.
Yeah. So to go back to this jiu-jitsu match with Kelvin Gastelum specifically, my question was like, do you feel like you're kind of fulfilling a dream? Can we go back to that? Because I think we were getting to that answer, but like I'd like to understand, like, yes or no. Do you feel like you're kind of doing something that you always set out, or does this feel different?
Feels different. It feels like, you know, come on over here, I got some shit to show you. Something you might not have seen before, or somebody that didn't get their turn. It's like nothing personal. It's not going to be like a fulfilling thing. Like for me, it's just a challenge. No matter who it was, is, you know, you bring a big name in, let me do it. It's like, people get offended when I say it's just jiu-jitsu, but it's just a match. Like I'm going to go put my worst or my best in, and worst case scenario, you get a little bit of an injury if you don't tap on time, but it's like there's not really going to be any brain trauma or anything like that. It's just work up to an event, really push myself in training and preparation, and see what I can do with it. 39 years old. Training for this at 39 is much different than it was at even 35, even 36. Like even laying out the entire program, there was more times I needed a nap, or I would take less of a day. Like, so I can still push hard on the right day. I don't have it every day anymore. Like I could go hard probably 3 days a week now. It's not like it used to be. So I have to adapt to that and kind of supplement that with other things. But it's just, and it's different because like I messed up a ligament in my hand because I have to be careful with the training partners I pick now.
Are you sure you want to say that?
Yeah, it's fine. Okay. Like I'll just tape it up. It's a lot better.
This will come out tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a lot better. Like I can tape it. I did it with this one, but here, you know, you can't really hide it because it's in the front. But so what I did was I was rolling with somebody, and we hit the people next to us. My hand slammed on someone's knee, and when I hit it, I go, ah, damn, and I pull it back in, and I do this, and the person I'm going with jumps on my back, trying to take advantage of it, just as they say they got me.
Where were you rolling?
I'll tell you later. Okay. But I'm just sitting here like,
fuck that guy.
Well, and so I was like, I'm just not going to roll with this person anymore because they're just worried about that. And like, it's cool if you beat me, but like, you're already really good. Such
a douche move.
And so
also without honor.
Yeah.
Like if I got a tap because like you're looking over here and you're not paying attention to me and I get on your back and get the rear naked, I didn't tap you. I didn't really tap you. I didn't earn that. Well, there's no honor in that.
And that's kind of how I felt about it. But then like, you know, there was this guy.
Were you rolling live or drilling? Or?
It was live.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And
no
so
honor.
my hand hit right on someone's knee next to us, and I went, ah, damn it! And I pulled it back just like this, and then someone's on my back. And I know for sure they heard me. But then it's like I was rolling with this one guy. He was just kind of a spazzy blue belt that I went with before, and he's like, hey, my shoulder's kind of injured. And I'm like, cool. Everybody else is tired. I just need one round of movement.
Yeah.
So he shoots this shot on me, and I've rolled with him before. I mean, there wasn't really any issue, but. So as he shoots on me, I leak up like a loose Kimura on the good shoulder, and I'm kind of just like giving him a nudge, like we're going to go this way. And as I do it, he tries to like 100% cartwheel over me. His knee smashes into my nose. I busted my nose open. I had to get stitches, and I had to wear like, did you remember Richard Hamilton? Mm-hmm. And like I had to wear one of those masks for like 2 weeks.
Little face mask?
Yeah, because I had a big old cut here, and luckily it wasn't broken. It's already damaged enough, but... So I had to put stuff on it and wear a mask and tape it down. It was just, you know, it was all the fun things that come up from a training camp. So
it's also so funny how like injuries are like Evan Elder was on the side of a mat and someone was rolling in front of him and got like rolled and like their heel just like perfectly hit his jaw and shattered his jaw in half, right? When Evan broke his face, essentially. And he wasn't even the one training. He was just around training. Do you remember way back when, like it was like 2 weeks before your fight, and we were doing light rounds?
Yeah.
And I think maybe like our heads, I'm sorry to bring this up, like our heads like barely touched. And I was like, ooh, sorry, I headbutted you. And I looked up and you had like a 3-inch gash. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, dude, I've hit you way harder than our heads ever touched.
Just the placement.
Yet that was the one that cut. It was like sometimes you said the word luck earlier. I cannot agree with that enough, where like some guys just get lucky that they don't get hurt, or like bad things don't happen to them, and some guys just get the shit end of the stick, and they could be like an absolute stud, and then like they drive off and get into a car accident or something like that. Like, I hate to say it, there is that variable. To bring it back though to you with like jiu-jitsu at this point, I know that earlier, because you're a black belt now, before you were a black belt, I remember a distinct conversation that we had at a jiu-jitsu tournament. We were both under the same, I want to say this because I want you people to understand where my stance is as well, but we basically had the same criticism of these jiu-jitsu guys that called these fights. Well, I had 5 fights today. Now, my stance was and is, if you're not a black belt, it's not a fight. I'm sorry. If you're not a black belt, this is not a fight. Once you get to a certain level of lethality, then I'm comfortable calling that a fight. But when you're a white belt, that's not a fight. When you're a blue belt, that's not a fight. And then the criticism I get for that is like, well, Ariane, how about that 0-0 amateur in MMA that goes out there and fights? Yeah, because he's getting a shin bone to his fucking face, even as an amateur. He can get hit with some real shit on his very first fight. Yeah. It's just different.
Yeah, I still wouldn't call it a fight. It's
even at black belt level?
No, to me it's a match. Like if we're trying to injure each other, like our brain stems, and there's knockout opportunities, yeah, I mean, still high level.
So is it the striking that is it the striking component that separates it from you?
Yeah, it's the fact that every other discipline is involved in it. Like you've seen some collegiate level wrestling matches, right?
Would you consider boxing a fight? Because I consider boxing a match as well.
I would call it a boxing fight or a boxing match. Same with a kickboxing match. Now, if someone would call kickboxing, it's a kickboxing fight. That kind of makes some sense because they're exchanging blows.
I think kickboxing is more of a fight.
Yes, I would agree with that. And it's not like any which way to...
Man, I sound like sour grapes.
Well, no. It's not in any which way to... You know, I think they always take it as we're trying to take what they like and put it below us. The thing is, like, you had to have done it and put in a camp with the striking, the mitt work, and all that, compared to, you know, just training one discipline. And also, it's like there was a fight I was winning almost entirely until the last 5 seconds on a Hail Mary kick, you know. There was significant damage there. I had to spend the night in the ER with a concussion. It took a long time to recover from. If you're losing a jiu-jitsu match or you're winning a jiu-jitsu match and someone submits you at the end, most times you're going to be all right other than your ego.
Yeah, but then the argument could be made that either case could have been bad. Like, okay, I've also seen jiu-jitsu matches. Look at Devon's last fight. That's actually a bad example because it was an MMA fight. But I've seen jiu-jitsu matches where, you know, someone walks away with a broken limb as well because perhaps or the worst ones that I hate are like the torn tendons and ligaments and stuff like on a heel hook or something, right?
Yeah.
So like it's not as if there is not this propensity for injury or violence within jiu-jitsu. My threshold is always the rule set. The more rules you apply to your form of combat, the less of a fight and the more of a match it is. So that's why I said kickboxing is more of a fight than boxing, because the Marcus of Queensberry rules dictate that you can only injure someone with the fronts of your knuckles under these 10 or 8 ounce gloves. Like there's just a whole lot of shit that goes into it. And I'm not saying that like MMA doesn't have its rules. We had to as well to get sanctioned by the state. But of the forms of fighting, it is the one with the least amount of rules. So like if you wanted to call MMA matches under that same definition that I've provided, I can get on board with that as long as we're all in agreement then that is the closest thing to a fight that we have is MMA, is the closest thing to a real fight that we have. Not boxing, not jiu-jitsu, not kickboxing, Muay Thai, it's MMA.
Yeah, I could agree with that. And, you know, you've seen some of these college wrestling finals whenever they have the champions and all this, you know, they have the big tournaments. That would feel like being in a car wreck. Yeah, they still call those matches, though, you know? So,
well, and there's a lot of rules.
If you want to call jiu-jitsu a fight, then wrestling is tough. That would also be a fight. And then every kid has a tournament of fights all the time from 5 years old all the way up to, it's just, it's really ridiculous. Broad to do it that way. To me, it's just a match. It's not anything like saying what you do is not important. Not at all. It's a competition.
What is some of the anecdotal consensus you get from fellow black belts? Do they think like that, or do they have a separate opinion from you? Or do you even talk to? Do you even talk to them about?
I don't really even talk to them about it. I think when they say,
do they call it fights?
Some of them do, but I don't think they see it the same way I do, because I don't take it as like offense. But instead of saying I win against this guy, they say I fought this guy. Or I matched against. I think it just flows quicker for them to say that. Or, you know, I always said competed. So, everybody calls this, they're called, oh, is your super fight coming up? And I'm like, it's a super match, So
Well, that's the thing I don't.
I'm like, if I
super
fought,
fight,
if
I don't understand that title. Super fight.
well, if I
what
fought,
does that mean?
If I fought Kelvin Gastelum, it'd be completely different preparation, right?
Yeah,
I'd be in a lot more shit that I have to be prepared for.
Let me take a step back. I don't understand what constitutes that. Like, forgive me, guys. I don't want to sound like a hater. I really don't. But like, I was a fighter, and I would have never called any of my fights super fights. I would have never had that hubris. Like, I'm not trying to sound rude when I say this. What makes this a super fight?
I think it's just a promotional tool, really.
Okay, so then we're in agreement that this is just marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then I'm
which you need to do
well.
for the sports, but
Super fight.
you just
What's a regular fight?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's really more how I look at it. But I don't think most of them get it in a menacing way. I just don't think they have that other perspective that comes from it. Not that ours is any better, but like, hey guys, if you want to fight, there's an avenue to do that too. There's gyms in the area if you want to try that, or even but it's different than what you think. I know guys that were like, I'm gonna get ready for combat jiu-jitsu, and then they did a couple rounds with some of the guys that did MMA, and they're like, not doing that shit no more. Yeah. And they're like, it's completely different. And I go, yeah, you're not gonna be sitting in deep half in an actual fight.
I would consider combat jiu-jitsu more of a fight.
More of a fight, yes.
But it's not because of the striking. It's because you're changing the rules to allow more aspects of combat.
Well, someone can get knocked out.
Yeah, they can't. I mean, someone can get knocked out in a jiu-jitsu match.
Yeah, for sure. If they get slammed and all that, but not from like open palm strikes.
Fair. Also fair. I don't know. I don't want to sound like a Debbie Downer. That is not the goal of this conversation. It was just one of these things where I remember having the discussion with you, and it was like a very articulate kind of, not a combative discussion, but it was like me and you and then like everybody else. Mm-hmm. And like we were on an island like, come on, guys.
Well, here's the difference, I'll tell you. If I was fighting this weekend, I wouldn't be here. Yeah. I'd be cutting weight. I would be locking in, and I would be trying to stay as positive as I could, because then I would be riding that roller coaster of fear up and down, knowing I had to make weight, knowing I had to time everything right, knowing I had to hit mitts, knowing I had to do this, knowing I had to review my game plan, having to watch tape, having to cut weight right, having to rehydrate right, go to weigh-ins, show up the next day after getting up at like 6, 7 a.m. because, my excitement, I didn't sleep much, having to wait all the way till 11 o'clock, having to warm up in the back and go out there and deal with all that shit and the anxiety that comes with that. Compared to this week, I'm just going to get a good night's sleep Friday, warm up, walk out there and show what I've got.
That's a little, I don't believe the word I want to use is oxymoronic, but it's a little bit paradoxical, because on one hand, you're telling me that you put it in a 12-week camp, you're taking this very seriously, and then on that same coin, on the flip side, you're telling me like, but it's still not as serious as I've taken things prior.
The preparation was, but the anxiety's different, because when it came to fighting, I tied my identity and purpose completely to that. And there's still a lot of what do I do now that's gone, and jiu-jitsu's kind of filling that
void.
But if I were to go out there and lose a fight, man, when's the next one coming? I don't know what my opportunity is going to be. What's my record now? Who do I got to fight next? What's my next 3 fights where I can correct this? Where did I go wrong? Did my weight cut mess up? What are my training partners? Do I need to get a different mitt holder? I wouldn't have to nitpick everything. Whereas if I go out and lose a jiu-jitsu match, it's just a couple little tweaks. I could do it again in 2 more weeks, and it doesn't live on my record on Tapology forever. And a loss would not negate the dream that it did in fighting to get to the dream.
I think that's what it is. That's what it is, because a loss in fighting set you back so much. And that's the thing that sucks about MMA, kind of in a way that it doesn't necessarily mean in other combat sports, where like if you're 5-0, right, and maybe like the UFC is looking at you and you get that 1 loss, well, now you have to get like 2 or 3 more wins just to get back to that same position. And the problem is when you get to like 5-1, 6-1, 7-0 or whatever, now you're fighting the regional killers. Everybody's on the same level, and it's like every fight is so monumental because it could make or break the dream. You're absolutely right when you said that was the anxiety. The majority of the anxiety that I felt from fighting wasn't even from being afraid of like going into the cage and all this other stuff. It was my fear of losing and being set back time.
Yeah, and also, some days you just woke up fighting and you were just off that day.
Yeah.
the timing's off, the rhythm's off, not just in one thing, but another thing, you're just laggy. You just almost feel like half a second behind processing.
Or just bad timing. You got sick that day.
I love jiu-jitsu. I'm very grateful I can still compete in it as an outlet, especially after fighting. And it's its own beautiful, wonderful thing. And if it's what you do and focus on completely, if we were to go head to head, you'll probably beat me because that's what you do day in, day out. And I do it now. And I've added it in, but I just try and beat you on competition day. The anxiety is much different. There was, coming off COVID, that last fight I had, it was one I was supposed to win too. I hardly slept all week. I was like, so my dad was on, at the time he was taking something to help him sleep. I can't remember the name of it. And then he got off of it because he just didn't like it. Right. And so I was like, hey man, yeah, I'm like, hey man, I'm not really sleeping this week. I'm too jazzed. No. So, I wasn't sleeping just because, your brain ruminates on the what if. And so it's like, it's a mix of anxiety and excitement, and it just depends on how you label it. But the week of when you're laying there in bed at night, you're just like going over it. And all of a sudden that heart rate gets going. And you're like, if it goes here, I'm going to go here, do this, do that.
Then you're also miserable from the weight cut, so you can't sleep because you're miserable, and then you're emotional, and then you got all this anxiety, and then you're going through all the various situations like, well, if he does this, I'm going to do that. And if I'm going to do this, what if he does that? There are a lot of things about fighting that I miss, truly. And whenever I feel like, because I'm only 32, whenever I feel like, I can get back in there, give me 6 months, I'll get back in shape, and I could beat the shit out of half these guys anyway, you know what I mean? And then I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do that shit anymore.
It's the week of I don't miss.
It's that and Jordan, I don't want to cut weight anymore, man. I don't for what?
I'm 230.
Yeah. Bro, I'm like 180. I fought at 135, you know what I mean?
But yeah, I'm
fat as fuck now.
But it was fun to go back and put in a whole camp, and it was very familiar. You'll know what I'm talking about. Like toward the back end now, I'm in great shape, but I'm also more tired because my body's recovering from the camp. So as I got to the gym Monday, it was gonna be my last hard one, and I'm like, I'm just tired. I got this little headache from the pressure changes. I'm like, why am I so tired? I'm in good shape. I warmed up. I did a 10-minute round with Adam. Wasn't even breathing heavy afterward. I'm like, I remember this feeling. I remember being like, dog tired. I don't have any energy. And then, it takes longer to warm up when you're in shape. And then you get that warm up in and, it's there. All the work I did's there. And so now it's knowing that it's there, maintaining and allowing myself to heal. That's been the harder part because it does not feel the same at 39. Me and, you're probably not much of like a Batman nerd, but me and Matt Owen were joking about it because there's one of the best Batman storylines is The Dark Knight The Dark Knight Returns. It's a comic strip. Bruce Wayne as Batman is retired. He's out for like 10, 15, 20 years, something like that. And he just gets tired of seeing all the shit in the streets. And he shows back up and he's huge now, stronger than he's ever been, but he's not fast. So he has to be really tactical and slow. But his ego gets to him, and the head of this gang wants to fight him, and he goes out there and he fights this guy, holds his own, but he loses. And someone pulls him back, takes him out, and he basically is like, I can't match him for speed. I got the brute strength, I got the knowledge. And so later on, and it's an animated movie, it's a 2-part one. It's very good. I suggest you watch it. He lures him into a mud pit to slow him down. And then he beats the shit out of him.
When they
overcome
that speed
advantage. So it's like it's interesting because it's like.
Can I ask on that note, man? Because we've brought up age and like how times have changed, but like, what does this match mean for you? Like, is this monumental for you? Obviously, no one wants to go into competition to lose. I'm not saying like, do you want to win? Of course you want to win, but like it's the broader context, like. Are you trying to make like a name for yourself in jiu-jitsu? Are you trying to pursue jiu-jitsu? Is this just a way for you to stay competitive and stay healthy? And I hate to say it this way, but like stay in the game. Like, what does this match mean to you?
Yeah, I would love to just keep taking on these big names. And in this case in particular, someone that's still active. Like I said earlier, Anthony Smith's not active. So to go out and beat a guy that's active, has a Hall of Fame fight in the UFC, even though it's different. And I know for him, it's probably not taking it as serious as I am, and that's okay. Like, he has no real jiu-jitsu competition experience. So
Yeah, but he's a competitor.
Yeah, he's a competitor, but he doesn't, there's a certain way to learn the rule sets and how to approach it. And so,
he's a black belt too, though.
Yeah, but competing at that is a little bit different because you have to put on a different hat,
Fair.
That's all. And honestly, I expect it to be pretty close. It's going to be very kind of wrestling heavy, but my goal's straight up get on top, get to the back, submission only. It's hard to submit those guys. So I'm going to have to put him in positions that I'm more comfortable in and he's not. But that's jiu-jitsu anyway. It's like these leg lock specialists. Like if I go against them, I'm going to annoy you by being very boring and not playing into your game because I don't owe you that, So I'm going to try and put you in a position where you don't like it. And sometimes those matches or whatever their style is, you have to make it really boring. But strategically, you just have to go against, one, not go into what they want to do, make them do something else, and then two, put pressure on them in that way.
So back to my question. What does this match mean for you?
It means a lot. I mean, I put a lot of work, so I definitely want to get the win. And the fact that Adam can bring in these kind of names is great. There were
I am impressed with that. I'm not
so
gonna lie.
there were other names he was talking about potentially getting in the future, maybe like a Chris Weidman or something.
Really?
I would love to go.
How does he have these connections? Just because of Tough and knowing people?
Yeah.
Dude, network is your net worth, man.
See, the thing is, I would love to go against Chris Weidman because Chris Weidman, he wouldn't know my name from nothing. But when Sean was in the UFC in Boston, I was hanging out with Kraus and we were walking around and we walk into this workout.
Kraus.
Yeah. We walk in this room and Chris Weidman comes up and he's talking to James about his fight and all this stuff. And he looks at me and goes, "Hey, I'm Chris." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know who you are." He shook his hand. He talked to me for like 30 seconds. Doesn't even need to give me the time of day, right? This is the guy that beat Anderson Silva. So the next day I see him at the elevator. I walk up. He goes, "Hey, how's your day going? How you doing?" And I'm like, what a genuine dude. And I'm like he could just like.
He's got a bro crush.
Well, when you're around a lot of those guys, some of them are just crabby because it's fight week and all that. But he was just so nice, and I got that vibe from him. So it would be fun just to compete against him because he's a killer. And, that, I don't know, just something about that just made it seem good. But, if Anthony Smith wanted to go again, I'd love to do that. It's more about like special events for me. Now, I would love to do more tournaments next year because I will be a Master 3. But the thing is, like the IBJJF, they don't really have a good weight class. I'd be an ultra heavy, which is here up, unless I cut to 215. So do I want to cut 15 pounds for a day of weigh-ins? I did that for last year when I went to Master Worlds in Vegas. And during my lunches at work, I was having to do cardio to even get the weight down. It wasn't fun at all.
Yeah.
So I would like to drop a little bit of weight to be able to do that. And then I would like to, do the full run on some of the bigger tournaments. The problem with IBJJF is you get better position and brackets at the big tournaments from your points. The only issue with that is you got to pay to do all these smaller tournaments. And sometimes you don't even have anybody in your bracket, or you'll have 2 people in your bracket. And you can rack up points, and then you can look yourself up and go, "Oh, I'm the number 3 ranked guy in the world," which, kudos to you. You put in the work going to the tournaments. But if I'm going to do a bracket, man, I want at least 6 people in that thing. So I don't get jazzed because there's times people will be like, "Oh, we're going to go do Chicago. We're going to go do Nashville at my gym." And I'll look up and there's like 1 person in that bracket. And I'm like, I'm not going to spend $400 in a whole weekend to go get a medal.
Can I say something that, once again, is going to sound like sour grapes? And I hate to be this guy. Whenever I see the pictures of the people that are at the podium and it's like, I got first, and there's literally like first and second. Mm-hmm. They didn't even have enough people in their bracket for a third. And I'm like, I hate to say it this way, but like, okay, you were first of 2.
Yep.
You were better than that guy that night. So like, you're 1-0, congratulations. Well, you're first out of 2. Like, what are we talking about here?
So the saving grace they get from that sometimes is if there's enough in the other divisions where they can have a decent open bracket. So
yeah, but then why post the picture of you getting first with 2 people?
No.
Does that make sense? Like, I'm not talking about like the tournament. Maybe they got matches that day, but like when you're posting a podium picture, there's not even 3 people to be on the podium. What are we talking about?
Yep. But
by
it
the
does
way,
pay
guys,
off.
I'm so sorry. Like, I'm really not trying to be an asshole. But like, I remember in wrestling when we had like this all suburban tournament, there was like 32 people in my bracket, and they had top 6. And if you medaled at that tournament, every single person that medaled at the All Suburban tournament would go on to medal at state that year. Every single one of them. So it was like that tournament meant something. There was a bunch of tournaments that I had in my wrestling career where like, dude, you got first in this one, but it didn't mean anything because it was like there was 12 schools there and only 5 schools had people in my weight class. Yeah. So I was first, yeah, but out of 5 people. Like, what are we talking about?
Well, it's an unfortunate strategy that you have to play for if
Sounds
you're
like
trying.
a solid business model for the IBJJF.
Well, it is,
It's
and
pay for
also
play.
like if you're going to do pans or worlds, if you've got 25, 30 people in your bracket, and now since you've accumulated all these points, you get a first round bye, and you have one less match than somebody else. Strategically, that's a big deal.
That's a lot, yeah.
That's a big deal.
If you're doing 5 matches in a day. Yeah.
Yep. Because there was a.
How many jiu-jitsu matches can you have in a day? Is it 5 or 6?
As many as you need to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does the state not have like any sort of athletic commission over there?
No, not that I'm aware of. But like, so for instance, you just never know who you're going to run into. So when I was a brown belt and I went to Master Worlds no-gi, I ran into the lowest seeded guy, right? And so whenever we go out there in the first match, it's dead even. It's dead even. He knew all my entries too because he looked them up. So I would go this way, he would do this. And I'm like, fuck, he studied. Flow grappling sucks because they can watch all your shit. And so
it's nice though because you can watch other people's shit.
And so I'm talking to him during the match and I'm like, you motherfucker, you know all my moves. He goes, I studied you. He's like, you're really good. I studied you. And so I had to end up doing like this kind of like Hail Mary throw toward the end because one of us had to win, right? And it just didn't go my way. He ended up in position. And then he cleaned house the rest of the bracket. Wasn't even close. But I ran into the guy that won in the first round, and I was the top-ranked guy. And afterward, he goes, you're the only one I really studied. You were the target. And I'm like, fucking flow grappling. You know, I'm like, if he wouldn't have known that. And
that's a compliment,
though. It is, but I didn't have a medal or anything for it, you know? So it's just because I was trying to clean. That's the only one I didn't win was no-gi Master Worlds at brown belt, and it was because of him. And we messaged back and forth on Instagram. He's a really good dude, but like I was like, damn you. Jeez. But
do you get the same itch from jiu-jitsu? Does it scratch that the way MMA did?
It's a more relaxing.
I've been on the fence.
It's a more relaxing one, really, honestly. So it's when I won those bigger tournaments, that was phenomenal. There was an excitement going to bed that night.
Was it on par with fighting?
No, but it didn't come with the anxiety.
Okay, so less of a price, but less of a payout.
Yes, but when I won, oh man, it was a big accomplishment. It was bigger than winning a fight. Because
so then,
well, that's the thing though. It's like if I was gambling and I didn't have that much of a emotional entry investment. Like, what's my ante, right? I still put in a pretty big ante, but I was okay with losing that ante because I put in a lot of hard work and, you know, this is only part of the game I like. I like blackjack, but I'll play Hold'em. But when I won, it was fantastic. But I also think I won because I didn't put all that pressure on myself. Pans, gi, first year at brown belt, I won no gi, and then I did the gi version, and in the first match, I went against the guy that I beat in the finals, the no gi. And he caught me with this stupid collar choke that I should not have got caught with. And I was so fucking mad because it was in the first match. And so I was mad all year. And I still got that chip. And I all year, I'm like, this shit's not happening again. I went back to that tournament the next year and won. And then I won Master Worlds. But I had to lose. So it still gives you the lessons you need if you're willing to listen to it.
So it's not on par with fighting, but it's still sufficient.
Yeah, it's still wonderful. It's still great to win. I mean, there's just something to be said about winning things that can't be taken from you.
Well, the competition is.
Yeah,
I think it keeps you youthful. Can I ask you a question though?
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about coaching?
Yeah. Which aspect? Both or
just in general? Coaching anything. Coaching jiu-jitsu, coaching fighters, coaching.
Yeah, I mean, I chip in with some guys every now and then, but to do it full time, it would be really hard to do full time without giving up.
What is full time? How many hours a week are we talking?
Well, you know, all of it's done at night.
Yeah.
So there goes your personal life. There goes your relationships.
What if you only coach like 2 days a week?
Could be hard to do. I do one night a week where I'll hold mitts for some of the guys. A second night would be kind of hard to do without giving up especially when there's two gyms. Like my jiu-jitsu gym that my coach is at.
Revive?
And then if I were to go to Wolves Den. So if I go to Revive 2 nights a week and Wolves Den 2 nights a week, it's 1 weeknight. I'm home.
By the way, can I say something?
Yep.
No homo. Nick Sanders is a very handsome man.
I told you when you called me, I was like, Nick is a very unique individual.
He's like tall, dark, handsome, articulate, smart. We're sitting here and I'm like, bro, I've never felt so like beta male in my fucking life.
Well, Nick's got a really good positive coaching energy of him.
He seems like a cool cat.
My game has grown a lot from him. My wins are because of him, because I used to approach it like, I'm going at it. And he's like, approach it strategically, right? So whenever I first roll with him, I was like, oh, okay, this guy, he's a big dude my size. There's other guys here that are not my size. I'm going to go with him. And he just kind of just did what he wanted with me. Like, I just remember distinctly this omoplata sweep, and I'm like,
what belt were you at the time?
Probably
like
blue belt.
purple,
Yeah, blue belt.
So relatively.
And I'm like, this guy needs to be my coach. There's a lot of good people here, and I was working with the McKinneys at the time, and I was like, but this guy's more my size. He needs to be my coach. And then I found a way to make that happen, and then it just got better from there.
So you do jiu-jitsu at Revive under Nick Sanders and
The junior.
And then you also train part-time at Wolves Den still?
Yeah, I was, before I took this match, I was even back in doing MMA classes a little bit here, just to stay young, moving.
Not to coach, but to be a part of it.
I was holding mitts for the guys, and then I would jump into the MMA class because they got a good crop of young guys I like there. But
from what I see, dude, they got the numbers.
Yeah, they do. They really do. And like, there's names in there that I don't even really know, but I'll see them on the mats. I'm like, damn, they're good. I did a sparring round with this young kid, and we were just moving, and all of a sudden I started throwing some spinning back kicks and some things that he didn't think I could do at my size. And so we're moving, we're just having fun, smiling, and it was just really good round, like good training partner, right? So we're just having fun, like me and you used to, right? It was Boston Howard. I didn't know that was their younger brother. Very skilled, very talented.
He's like,
I don't know.
Young.
He just had his first MMA
young.
fight, and I was actually back at Shamrock for the first time in a long time there because I was helping corner Sam.
Did you not burst into flames immediately walking in?
No, I didn't. And actually, they have a really good production still, and Rob came up and shook my hand. And
Did
I was
he really?
Like,
good.
Yeah, and I was calling, and then I thought about it afterward, and I sent him a message like, hey, I wasn't trying to be dismissive. It just, the night was about Sam. I wasn't going to bring any of my bullshit up here, but.
Sam Penites.
Yep.
Sorry.
And I'm like, you ever want to grab lunch or something, let me know. Because I don't blame you for what the other guy did.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and, it was good. But it's like I tell everybody.
Did you talk to Jesse at all or no?
No. I don't need to. What's he got to say to me?
Gotcha.
So it's just, we know he doesn't really have a good moral sense of right or wrong, or being like, hey man, like.
Well, I just didn't know. I just didn't know if it was like Rob obviously came up to you and dabbed you up and said, hey, how you doing?
And I appreciated that, honestly. Yeah. So, but no need to talk to the other guy.
Totally understand.
So it's, you haven't given me a reason to. It's not like I wouldn't, but it's just is what it is. But, it's just part of the reason I did this camp is because I was entertaining the idea, just out of spite, of maybe even doing another one at 40.
Another May fight?
Yeah, I'll tell you, when I'm on the mats, I still got, I'm just a little slower, but the timing and all that's still there. But do I want to deal with all that shit?
Well, my thing was always, it makes sense if you can find the right dance partner.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're 40, you don't want to go in there and fight the fucking 22-year-old up-and-coming phenom. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean? It's almost like you want to do like a Masters League.
The way Ian Zarvos and Oscar Alwatsi at the last stand-up fights, not stand-up fight series, sorry, their last show this last weekend, they did like a boxing match, and Oscar's 44, Ian's 47. Like, I think there's a way to do that. It's just got to kind of be set up in that manner, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. It's got to be done carefully, and honestly, let's be honest, most of us that have fought and are 38 plus, 40 plus, we're on some type of hormone therapy, so that would have to be a conversation.
It's not like the test, the state
test. It doesn't matter, but for me, I'd have to be like, just so you know.
Okay, if you want to be like a gentleman and give transparency, totally understand that. I'm not.
Well, it's because I don't want to hear the fucking excuse later.
Well, bro, you guys are. I hate this. I do not want to sound dismissive when I say this. You guys are 40.
Yeah.
Come on. You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing here? Are we like, pulling teeth, trying to like try to, you know, have this like scientific measurement of like who's the bigger man. It's like, no, I want to compete. And I think it's right to do what you're talking about. Like, by the way, I'm on some, I'm on some HRT right now to get me to normal levels. I'm not fucking steroid out or anything like that. I'm a 40-year-old man with 40-year-old man levels, just so you understand. You know what I mean? So if you want to be a 40-year-old man with equal levels, totally cool with that.
It's more of the guys that we know did it that didn't say it. I think it's cowardly.
Well, yeah, bro. I mean, but that's,
and so I want to.
None of them ever made anything.
Yeah, but I would like just me as a rejection of just that cowardice wants to go. Here you go. Actually,
who was that white guy that like openly said to you that he took steroids? The guy with the tattoo. I forget his fucking name.
I can't remember his name, but I remember you were sitting next to me.
Yes.
Yeah,
and he's like,
I got mad.
He clearly didn't understand. I'm so sorry, random steroid user who cheated and fought. I don't remember your name, but maybe that's for a purpose. But like, I remember we were cutting weight or whatever. I think we were on the same card, and like he comes up to you. It was like, yeah, man, I just got off cycle or whatever, and I'm overweight because my body's retaining water. And me and you are just like looking at him like, bro.
I think I remember.
I think it started with a C. He was awful at fighting. So like the fact that he took steroids was like added insult to injury. I forget his name. But it's also the same reason why I kind of
I believe that was it. Is that your
name? Yeah, Cody Naki. Yeah. Dude, listen, if you take steroids and you fight, go fuck yourself. I have no problem. What are you gonna do? Sue me? Prove me wrong. Mm-hmm. Did you not take steroids and fight? Yeah. Same thing that happened with Josh Augustine. Josh Augustine was on the sauce for like a year and a half, 2 years. Because I remember when I was at St. Charles MMA, him and I were like, he was a 45er, I was a 35er. You know what I mean? And like Josh never had like a physique or anything. Like he was just a skinny white kid. You know what I mean? And then I saw him at like one of the Shamrocks, and I was like, bro, you're like 180 jacked with back knee. Yeah. And you're gonna look at everybody in here and say that you're not on cycle. Shut the fuck up.
Well, that's one example of, you know, a few people we've seen do that. It's just
I only know for certain of the two. Mm-hmm. Cody Naki and Josh. I only know for certain those two.
I'm sure there were a lot more, but yeah, I never took anything until I was done, and then I had a really bad concussion, and just I wasn't the same after that.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Mm-hmm. Damn. From that kick?
No, it wasn't that one. After I won Master Worlds at Brown Belt, I came back and Sean had a fight, and it was really hot in the gym. And it was just one of those time periods where like the training partners weren't around. So I was trying to make sure I really was able to push him. And so I'm getting sparring rounds with him, and we're doing it in the 100-degree heat, right? And so I was leaving the gym and I was having headaches. And you remember how hot that gym used to be. You would get headaches anyway. And so then I'm like, oh, it's just exertion from the heat because I'm really pushing because, you know, there's not that many training partners right now.
Hit a lot?
It was with Sean, so yeah.
So yes, yeah.
So, you know, if I didn't...
The answer to the question was, everyone gets hit a lot.
I get mine, but it's not the same. But the game was basically, you know, I had to put him down and get him down, you know, so... And then, you know, and he wasn't doing anything wrong, but one day I tried to, like, shuffle step off the wall, and he, like, perfectly placed this uppercut. And I saw, like, white real quick, but I kept going. And I still had the headache afterward. And so then, like, the next day at work... I was just sitting in the hallway, and I was like, why am I sitting in the hallway, and how long have I been here? And I was like, oh, no. Fuck. And so then I went from being able to train hard 2 times a day, sometimes 3 on some of those days. I would train 1 day, and then I'd be done for 3 days. So I had to go get blood work done, and yeah, I kind of messed up my stuff then. Because
Did they tell you what number you were at? Because, by the way...
It wasn't that so much as it was called my pituitary gland was overreacting, trying to regulate.
Got you.
So what they called it was early andropause. And so when they got me on, you know, just medical levels back, I felt so much better. But it took a while, and I was really skeptical of doing it. Jeff Whitmer, I talked to him. Yeah.
By the way, thank you for that shout out.
Yeah,
it was a great episode to have with him.
Yeah, and they're sponsoring me for this. They're really good. They're really good.
He seems like a cool guy.
The telehealth changed the game. They just send the stuff to you, and if I have questions, you know. But I dove deep in it because I didn't ever want to do it. Because I know when you're on it, right? So I found podcasts with him and his dad.
When you say you're on it, meaning like you have to stay on it.
Pretty much. Yeah, I mean, there's ways to get off of it, but like, it's not till later on in life you probably should. But like, if I was going to,
I don't know about that. Why?
Well, So the thing is,
You
if
could
I
be
was
70
where,
and feel 50, why not?
yeah, but there's a difference in when I feel how I felt before and after from not being able to train like I was, you know? So I wanted to make sure I was with the right people that weren't just going to be like, here's a $200 a month subscription. You got this, and this.
I feel great.
Yeah. And then like your heart explodes, you
I've
know?
been punching drywall all night.
So they were very, very thorough, very transparent, good with the blood work. And so,
did you feel like a noticeable change in your life?
Yeah. And the first thing was,
every guy I talk to says the same thing.
and your mood stabilizes. So Steve Kanogo always had this theory that, you know, roid rage was a thing from the 80s because they didn't have estrogen blockers. He's like, so anytime you take steroids, these guys would take steroids, their estrogen would go up, and the estrogen is what made them go nuts. He goes, now that they have estrogen blockers, you don't hear about roid rage anymore. And I was like, well, you kind of got a point, right?
Something to that.
So, yeah.
The only people that yell at me now is my wife.
But it stabilizes your mood because, I mean, you'll know just from even being a human being, like you're tired, your patience, the line that day can be different. It can be here, it can be really short. If your hormones are more regulated, the line is steady. So then it makes all your conversations and interactions better because you're not up and down. So certain people that you deal with, you're like, we're not doing this. And then other people, you're actually more dialed back. It just depends on who it is because you are calm and composed and you're steady in your responses instead of, I trained really hard last night. I'm exhausted. Don't push me.
Dude, I had that today with the wrestlers at the high school. I felt so bad afterwards, but like they were just drilling like shit. And normally I don't like, you know, trust me, I'm a hard coach, you know what I mean? But like I was infuriated. I was like, are we wasting our fucking time here? Like I don't normally get that upset. And then I was thinking about it. I was like, it was because I was scrambling. I had to get like 8 hours worth of work done in 5 hours because I had to go and coach. And then I also knew that after that, I had to like scramble to go to my daughter's swimming and then come here for this podcast, right? So like I knew that I had a hectic day. So I was trying to go like boom, boom, boom. And it is not lost on me that I try my hardest to be a patient man. I really do. But I will also say that there is nothing I value more than my time. And if I'm not doing this, I will be doing something else. Like I'm not like an individual. There's no like downtime. It's not like if we weren't doing this podcast, I would have been doing something else, right? If I wasn't going to my daughter swimming practice or whatever, I would have came here earlier with you. We would have gotten started earlier. And then if we didn't do this tonight, I would have been doing something. I'm not like the kind of guy that just sits at home and doesn't do shit.
I'm not either. I wish I had some of that.
No, you don't.
Just a little bit,
No,
man, because
no,
it's like I'm just antsy all the time.
No, you see these normal people? And do you see normal men? You have nothing in common with them.
I know, but there's something about being able to sit down and chill.
When we're older.
1 or 2 nights. That's
When
what I keep
we're
telling
older.
myself. I
When
told
we're
myself
older.
that 10 years ago.
Yeah, when we're
And now
older.
I'm like,
You've never been busier.
now I'm like, shit, I don't want to sit here and watch these.
I think what it is we have purpose. Like and purpose is like a broad term. But I do believe one thing for certain, that the minute you lose your purpose is when death starts to knock on your door. I've seen it with elderly. I've seen it with youthful people. Like you need a purpose. Now, your purpose can be being a father. Your purpose could be like, I own an animal shelter. The purpose can take many forms. I want to compete in jiu-jitsu, whatever it is that you want to do. I'm not saying that like one purpose is greater than another. That's for you to decide on your own. But people need a purpose. And right now what you're seeing is like this overwhelming lack of purpose in people. And that's why you have this growing discontent and depression, like mass depression.
I was actually just talking to my buddy Dan Shukart about this. And purpose is one of those things that's like, and me and Dan have had these conversations because he was in the Army Rangers, did contract work out there. That was his life, day in, day out. So he has a hard time acclimating back to daily life, doing mortgage sales, even though he's a badass in jiu-jitsu, family life. He says sometimes that crops up on me, and it does for me too, because I'm not all, my identity for the longest time was, fighter. You know, young fighter. And what is your purpose now? I mean, some days it's there, some days it creeps in your head. Like, what are you fucking doing here right now? And we live in a more connected society than ever. I can text you at any time, but whenever you're feeling the purpose not there and you're kind of isolated, you feel like it's only happening to you, and it can be really depressing. And so whenever I feel that coming on, I try and talk to my buddies that also, they're like, yeah, I deal with that too. And I'm like, I wish you didn't, but I'm glad someone gets it because it makes me feel better because I know
Not
this is
crazy.
just, yeah, I know it's just me. So it's like, you know, purpose changes and it's different. And I think everybody just kind of deals with it. And I think a lot of people that don't have that, they're just so inundated by being busy and trying to figure out what it is. But you're right. Like, there's a lot of unhappiness out there right now, and it's kind of an epidemic. Are we more aware of it now because of the internet? I don't know, but it's strange times. We were talking before this. I think COVID was the worst thing that almost ever happened, you know, for multiple reasons. Like, even the support that people used to have of each other, of their communities, of, you know, just their hobbies and what they did. Like some of these groups, Jen, she used to run a whole dance studio out in St. Charles. She had yoga, belly dancing. That whole community's fallen apart since COVID.
Just gone.
And they keep trying to bring it back, but no one's gluing the pieces together that's staying there because a lot of them just kind of exit. It's like you said, how a lot of the fighters retired. So,
well, I think a lot of the okay, in the absence of something, you'll fill it with something. So the reason why a lot of these guys stayed fighting was because it was a source of income for them, and it kind of was like this path. And then what happened with COVID was they couldn't fight anymore, and they had to survive. So they filled that gap with something else. And the problem is then when you open everything up, well, now I have this thing. Now I've kind of tasted the fruit on the other side. And you know what? It feels better. It tastes better than getting punched in the face. It's easier on my body than going in training. And it's like, fighting is incredibly difficult, right? So like, I don't know about the belly dancing and the yoga and stuff like that. Maybe that has like its own variables that I'm not privy to because it's not my world. But like, it did not shock me that over a prolonged period of like 2 years of peace, people aren't rushing to go quote unquote back to war. It's an analogy that I use, but for fighting, it's like, you know, if you get punched every day, that becomes your norm, right? But then if you go a year or two without getting hit, and then you come back and you're like, why did I like this? Like, you can start second guessing a lot of these things. I'm telling you that when we came back from COVID, dude, that was the hardest fight camp I ever had to come back from because I was like 185, 190 pounds. I'd been drinking. I didn't know when we were going to come back.
Yeah.
And I remember Rob called me. He's like, all right, we're good. 12 weeks. You, Dylan Tolbert. I was 190 pounds, almost 200 pounds. It's like, fuck my life. That's why I lost 60 pounds in 3 months to get back into it. And it almost broke me from fighting. Like, after that fight, I was like, why am I doing? Like, I'm literally killing myself.
you'll show up exhausted.
Yeah, dude, that was the worst I've ever felt for a
Yeah,
fight.
there's
Anyway.
many fights before a fight.
But to go back to the more broader conversation about like purpose, and I would choose the stress of a busy schedule than the depression of emptiness any day of the week.
I would agree with that too.
I would rather go to bed exhausted every day than sleep until 5 p.m. because I have nothing to fucking do.
Well, I wouldn't want to sleep to 5 p.m. I would like to be able
5
to.
p.m. is an exaggeration.
Yes, but I would like to be able to at least take a step back and enjoy some of the things some people do get to because they're just not wired like me.
Like what?
Like, you know, there's times where like I'm already thinking about what am I going to do after this match, right?
Like the next match, you mean?
No, it's like next week I'm going to need to take a week to heal up because I put myself through hell. So what am I going to do every night? You know?
Oh, you mean like you're not going to
Yeah.
go practice? Like you're not going to go train?
Yeah, what am I going to do when I heal up? Like, don't get me wrong. I like sitting around and watching
Write a book.
shows and catching up on all this stuff, but I can't do it every night. I can't sit at home.
Fill it with something else.
Every
Write a
night.
book. Do something that you haven't done before.
So, yeah. But, yeah, that's where I go. And just busyness helps.
I agree, but like a mono purpose is not necessarily a good thing either. You can't just have this one goal, especially as you age, because like you're kind of putting. I say the diversification of a portfolio is direct correlation to like sustainable financial futures because you understand that like there will be variables that go up and down. Well, the diversification of purposes in your life's portfolio is equally as it's the same principles apply. So like. I didn't tell you that like I'm very busy with one thing. I have my businesses, I have my family, I have my coaching, and all of these things, some of them are like more busy than others, and then time management is the skill set that kind of is the glue between all of them. Sometimes I have to like really spend time with my family because maybe I spent too much time on the business last week, and like I can see that my daughter misses me and my wife feels lonely. So like, okay, I got to be a family man this week. Like I got to remind them like, no, you guys are the most important thing. And then, wrestling season's coming up. So like we're doing preseason right now and that's only 3 days a week. But when the season starts, that's 5 days a week plus the weekends, you know what I mean? So it's like something else has to kind of give up. So it's not as if I'm saying, you your bar is either at 100 or 50 or 75 or whatever. Your bar should always be 100, but that bar should be divvied up. Like 25% of it is now jiu-jitsu, and then 25% of it is gen, and maybe 25% of it is your dog. You know what I mean? And then when it's time for competition, well, now it's 50% jiu-jitsu and 10% dog, 10% gen, whatever it is, but you're still at 100%. And I think that is, I mean this when I say this. As a man, I cannot speak for women, but as a man, you should always be busy until the day you die. Be busy.
I know people that
not with work, not with only making money, but be busy.
When I was at SIUE, there was a teacher. He was like 80 something years old as hell.
God bless him.
And you know what he said? He's like, I should have retired years ago. He goes, but all my friends retired and they died within the same year. He's like, I ain't ready yet. But you know, more what I meant is like next week, what I would like to do is go do a bunch of things. But anytime you leave the house, it's, you know, things cost money right now that are really expensive. I'd love to go on a trip. I'd love to go do a couple of things. I'd like to go, you know, spend a couple of days here, go there, travel around and do all that. But it's like anytime you leave the house, it's almost like 50 to $100, you know?
Can I tell you a study that was done that really saddened me? 64% of millennials last year, when they used PTO, was for a staycation. They used PTO because they were so stressed at work, or they were so like burned out from their lives that they used PTO to just like sleep in or take care of errands around the house or whatever. Like, I think that's awful.
Well, what I'll tell you right now is, you know, when I left Fox, what I'm doing now, I'm on my own schedule. Couldn't imagine going back to that. Mm-hmm. The way then people were micromanaging me or everybody there. There's still people there. It's not even gotten.
I remember how much you disliked it.
It's not even gotten better. And like, so now
wait, the new employer is not better or?
No, they're at Fox. It's not
there
even
it has
the people I know.
better.
Where I'm at, like I pretty much own my day.
Yeah.
So I'll get up. Sometimes I'll walk the dog. I'll come back. Most of my stuff is done at home. I do miss going in and seeing people I like. But if I could have a little bit of both where I'm not, you got to be here to here and tell me where you're at this time. If I could just kind of casually go in and be around those people I was at. And also I'm really productive at home too. I feel like I get a lot more done and I'm not killing time. And then it's different. I feel like I own my time compared to previously the corporation owned my time.
I think I want to be careful how I say this because I'm also an employer and an employee. I think that if the vast majority of people could be trusted to allocate their resources, their individual resources accordingly, you wouldn't need middle management. And middle management is not something that was created to create expense in a company or to like add this layer of communication that isn't necessary. It's 100% needed because most people are not you. Most people are not productive at home. Most people need to be micromanaged. If 50% of the average, okay, so we're talking about the average employee, 49% of them are below average. What are you going to do? Like fire them? No. You need something out of them, right? Well, you're also going to need a babysitter. The problem is, occasionally on a team of 10 people, right, 4 of them are going to be below average, 4 of them or 5 of them are going to be above average, and then like you have the average, right? So it's like you were probably on a team where you may have thought that the people to your left and to your right were similar to you, but probably they weren't. And maybe that person that was like micromanaging had to do that. Unfortunately, you were lumped up with it. I say that because I've been the recipient of that, and I understand that. And I've also had to be the one who does that, where I'm sorry, insert employee's name here, but you are one of 5, and you're great, you're killing it, but everybody else on your team is retarded, and I can't fire them because there's laws against firing stupid people. So sorry, and I can't treat you differently from them because there's laws against that. And I can't give you preferential treatment for being a better employee because there's laws against that. So it's like, dude, I don't want to, I'm not trying to create like scapegoat or excuses for your management. It's also entirely possible that your manager was just an asshat. That's also
my direct manager was awesome. It was the people above
them.
Yep. So, you know, it's just people from a different generation that, you know, would even laugh at the idea of remote work. And it's like, actually, there's people in this industry that only do that. And I don't need that fully. Just give me some flexibility. You know, it's more like not being babysit. There's just a part of me that doesn't like being told what to do. Like,
to become an entrepreneur.
Well, like, I don't mind guidelines and I don't mind rules if they make sense. If it's because they are something you grew up with and you're not willing to shift when an industry shifts,
Okay.
then it's different. And don't put your limited mindset on what I can do.
So it's not that you don't like being told what to do, it's that you want to be told to do what makes sense.
Well, I always ask why, not to be a dick, but just like, okay, well, why is that in place?
Yeah.
Because I pick apart processes because I look in anything, I pick apart processes. Why do we do it? Why do we think this way? And it rubs some people the wrong way, but like
It rubs
really
stupid people the wrong
well,
way.
what I'm
'cause they can't
or
answer the
insecure
question.
people, and what I'm really trying to do is like always see if there's a better way to do it. So
Yeah.
I mean, even at the new place I work, it took them a bit to get used to me because I would ask why.
Well, what if I told you that when someone gives you a direction, they should already presume or already tell you why? Hey, you're going to be doing this because of this, this, and this.
That would be nice.
That's the proper way to manage.
Yeah.
The improper way to manage is to direct. Do this. You're not my slave. You're not my bitch. That's not the right way to manage. Jordan, what are you working on? I'm working on this area. Is it? I should know whether or not that's a priority, or if it's like work for other person and then I'm your direct superior, then I get to dictate your priority. Okay, I'm sorry to do this to you. I know you're probably in the middle of something. When you get to a breaking point, take a pause because I need you to work on this because of this, this, and this.
Well,
this is why this takes priority.
Well, that's
this is why
communicating.
I need you to switch from what you're doing now, which is important. It's not that this isn't important. This is more important. Here's why. And here's why you're doing it. This is the deadline I need. This is why that's the deadline. Done. I'll see you in 3 days when that's done. If it's done before, email me. Great. That's how it should be. And if I have to sit there and hold anybody's hand, I'm not hiring them. The unfortunate reality of like a lot of management is sometimes you become a manager and you inherit a team. If I told you you could be a manager and you're going to manage 5 people and you get to do the interview process for them and you get to interview and hire the 5 people, chances are you probably won't have to micromanage them. The problem is someone gets a promotion, so then that middle manager needs to then get filled. So in comes this person who's completely different from the person that was there, and they're inheriting this team that they may have not hired the people that are on the team, and now they have to try to change the team to be more like them. So it may have been that like these upper management people were just never gonna vibe with you.
Yep. Well, and I've seen people do that, and they kind of they want to bring in their own people.
Oh yeah.
So which
Corporate America
can be good.
I mean, culture, even if a culture is shit, it's better. Even if a culture is one of ineptitude and insecurity and stupidity, you're better to have a team full of idiots than to have a genius in there. You really are.
Okay, so before I give you what you want, and we move to politics.
No, I mean we don't have to. We don't. Listen,
I want to make sure I thank Adam for
Sell
putting
it?
on the show. Yep. You'll see this shirt here. They're gonna have a tournament in November. You guys should sign up because even if you don't see people in your bracket, people are probably waiting on you to sign up. And Adam's a good guy, and he'll even refund you that day if no one's in your bracket. I got to think he's really helped me train a lot for this. Junior and Nick have been great. Matt Green has. Junior was really all over me with game planning. I got to thank Matt for helping me with the strength conditioning program. And really, I just don't want to lose track of this. I want to thank Jack Tony. He's always good to help and support me with his gym. That's coming, second version of the dungeon. They got hit with a tornado in Arnold, not getting any help from their insurance adjuster, so they're going to have a new gym. And then Whitmer, I talk about helping me. I got to thank Marcus. Marcus is going to start a promotion called Breakout FC. So that'll be interesting next year, kind of help fill in some of these gaps for in between bigger shows. And then my cousin Jason with Poseidon Pool. So I wanted to make sure to get those names out there because those guys did sponsor me and they're on my rash guard, which by the way, if you guys ever have sponsors and you need a rash guard, Adam Meredith at Impose will build a custom one. You got to pay him for it, but it's really cool. He has a really cool design I like. So, but let's talk about.
No. Let's take a step back because we don't have to get into a conversation about politics if you don't want to. By the way, go ahead and lower that because it'll be on the Y chat. Forgive me.
Okay.
But
I was doing it for dramatic effect.
Yeah, I feel you. No, it's not that. It's not that there's like a direction that I want the conversation to go to. It's more of like the sense of.
Well, I wanted to get into the Charlie Kirk thing.
You did?
A little bit, yeah.
To what extent?
Man, that was disgusting. Like
The actual shooting?
Yeah,
Or the
and so
reaction
it's
to, or what?
all of it. It's like obviously the guy doesn't say stuff that we all agree with, but I saw, you know, there's some stuff he said that I don't agree with, and I've seen people take screenshots and stuff out of context, but that was horrible. That felt like to me, it wasn't a politician may have turned into one, but you know, with all the stuff that's ugly out there, we all knew there was a line somewhere, and I felt like that line was crossed that day. And we don't know the full story of how or why that happened. We know the narrative of it. But, you know, it's, to me, the more clips I saw of his, and there's, you know, your algorithms will change depending on who you are. I saw more conversational tones, and like, I didn't agree with everything he said. But to me, he was the guy that would at least say it and talk to you. Whereas everybody else, they do this stuff in the shadows, or they're rage baiting on the side. But there was just something about healthy conversations with people that's beneficial, because I saw, you know, I hear people all the time, oh, he was a piece of shit and this, but I saw clips of him talking with people that had completely different viewpoints and lifestyles from him, but he was really nice to them and told people, you know, to not be mean to them. Now, if they came up and they egged it on, then, you know, they got it back. But just the visual of it, because someone sent it to me and I was like, oh, and then when I first saw the first one, it looked like it hit him here. And then I saw the one where it hit him, and then, oh my, I wish I hadn't seen that. I wish I hadn't seen that. And then just like, you see all the stuff about how they took the camera down and move all this stuff. And like, did you know that whole area is being like built up now? Like, it wasn't even kept as a crime scene long. It's really strange. The reaction to it was shit. I wouldn't have given two shits really about him before, but it's just a conversation guy, which, you know, I wish the response to him would have been like a Bill Maher type, also having a conversation with people instead of just like, oh, fuck this guy, you know? And what really hit it home for me is he's the same age as my youngest brother. There's a 2-week difference. And I was like,
He's my age.
I was like, whoa.
I'm 9 months older than him. Or I was
so
9 months older.
Who knows what would have happened if Trump would have been hit with that bullet? But I felt like there was a line crossed there, and everybody should have been able to take a step back and go, let's not go there.
I'll tell you exactly what would have happened if Trump would have got hit with that bullet. The entirety of the left would have cheered with exuberance. That's what would have happened.
I can't disagree with that.
That's what would have happened. And there are 3 parts of the Charlie Kirk assassination. Number 1 is what you're getting at, to where, like, we're talking about the details, we're talking about the investigation, we're talking about the supposed perpetrator, right? That's like one thing. The second thing would be the life that he lived, the man that he was, right? How did we get to that point, quote unquote? And then the third was, in my opinion, is the most important, actually, is the reaction to. I think that if any Democrat were to get their head blown off on TV, you would not find a single conservative outlet that would cheer that. Not one. Why? Why? Because down to its core, agree with them or don't, conservatives are the ones that are more faithful. They're the ones that regard and reverence life more. It's universal. Talk to a conservative, talk to a liberal. Now, you might get more sympathy and empathy from a liberal. Oh, you're not going to like what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it. We see eye to eye in a lot of ways, conservatives and liberals. We do. We have more in common than what we don't. The problem is the differentiation is how we arrive to that quote-unquote promised land, where one tells you that they are pro-life, but then also on that same hand will tell you, well, you have to fend for yourself and pick yourself up from your bootstraps. Is that wrong? Is that wrong to give an individual agency? Is that wrong in the world that we live in this land with extreme abundance and opportunity, that we tell you, no, you're in charge of your outcome. You're the one that needs to either fail or succeed on your own merit, unimpeded by anybody else. Is that wrong? Where the other one says, you know, well, you could possibly have a bad start, so it'd be nice to just not even have that start. It'd be better for you to just not have that start because the economics doesn't make any sense. By the way, we on average are less wealthy than the other side. So we want to take that money from them by force, which means people with guns, and then distribute that a little bit more equitable. Who's to decide what's equitable? Who's to decide who should get that money and how? Should it be done on race? Should it be done on age? Should it be done on gender? Why not merit? Oh, that's right, because it's already done on merit.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if I step back
By the
from it,
way,
'cause
Jordan, I am an independent.
Yeah,
I am not a conservative. I voted Obama, Trump, Trump, Trump.
Well,
and I would have voted RFK Jr. this time around had he stayed in the race.
Here's the strange part, is I would consider myself a moderate, and
I was.
I feel like I can step back and see arguments on both sides. I really do.
To what extent? Sorry.
I honestly, I feel like if you didn't know, if anybody wasn't wearing a hat or a flag going by there and you walk across somebody and they needed help, I think most people would help them, you know?
I disagree.
Well,
you want to know why I say that?
But
the lady that was knifed.
Oh, yeah, that was messed up.
The lady that was knifed on the subway station. There were 6 or 7 people there watching her bleed out.
Yeah, but those are cowards.
But Jordan, you just made a statement when you said when someone is there, I think the majority of people would actually.
I meant if someone was out of a job and needed a meal.
I don't think most people would help them.
Really?
I genuinely don't.
They didn't grow up where I did, so.
But that's the problem with anecdotal evidence. The problem is you're putting these people on the same pedestal as you. You believe that they think the way you think. You believe that they have the same moral character that you have. They don't. They don't.
Well, what I'm trying to say is I think most of us agree on certain things and then they pick at the little details to divide us. So it's strange out there now. I saw a graphic that was basically I couldn't find it again. I went for it the other day. It was basically a guy standing on the left, and there was the middle, and there was a guy standing on the right. And it was about the scales moving. And as he keeps standing in the right spot, he went from just to left to moderate to now he was on this. And the first guy I thought of when I saw that was Obama. He would be considered more of a conservative guy.
He'd be a Republican today.
And remember, they were calling him a socialist in 2008. But Romney Care was the idea for the Affordable Care Act and deported a lot more people before, but he would not be as extreme as it would need to win a primary nowadays. And it would be really interesting if a guy like that came up because maybe his just aura and presence and the way he articulated would win those people over. But the party that voted him in is not the party that's there now. And so as I sit here and I hear a lot about how, kind of men are the problem. And I'm like, well, if you look at the youth.
It's laughable.
Yeah. If you look at the youth, what are most young men leaning toward now?
The majority are conservative.
Because they don't feel like they have a home over here on this other side.
No, I think it's natural to lean conservative as a man because of the principles of the conservative party.
Well, it's like...
There's a reason why as men age, I was I was a Democrat, up until about when I was 20. I voted... When Obama was running against McCain, I couldn't vote at the time because I was still in high school, but I would have voted for Obama. Just the message was better. I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, we're going to overcome racism and all this other stuff because we finally got a black president. It was great. And even when Obama was running against Romney, even though Romney, in a lot of ways, because I was studying finance at the time, a lot of the things that Romney was saying, I was like, it kind of makes a little bit more sense than Obama. I still voted Obama because I was like, but what about these people and what about that? It wasn't until 2016 when I'm like, bro, why the fuck is it so hard for me to live and I still make 6 figures?
Yeah.
This is insane. Why is it that my friends can't afford houses? To this day, the majority of my friends can't own their own home.
Well, see, and that's where I'm kind of more what I mean. We're all kind of in the same boat. I think we all see things similar. It's just who do you blame? And I think a lot of that comes down to algorithms. Everything's more expensive when our parents had it. Why can't you afford a house? Well, depending on what you read, what you take in, it could be...
Jordan, who do you blame? Who do you blame?
I blame the whole system.
Why is life harder now than when 20 years ago?
It's the whole system in general.
Okay,
I saw in a
conversation... Does that have anything to do with Republicans and Democrats, or does that...
I think it's the system, to be honest. I saw a conversation, and it just randomly popped up because I've been watching things where Charlie Kirk was actually talking to Tucker Carlson, of all people. It was just in the short clip, and they were talking about the boomer generation. Everything, they were hardworking, all this stuff, but basically every policy and everything that's been done in their lifetime was to benefit them.
Yeah.
And I hadn't, when they said it, I'm like, well, yeah. And so what was left after that, instead of them, and they're the ones selling their houses to BlackRock when they downsize now.
Yes and no.
But when I look at it that way, it's like everything's gotten more expensive as some of the pay hasn't gone up with it. Now that's a whole nother scheme we can go into of CEO pay. But the last time people weren't having as many kids and wealth was this concentrated was right before the Great Depression and the stock market crash in 1929. So it makes me wonder, are we going to repeat the same history again?
Yes.
Does it come in cycles like this? And it's like, it's more the systematic greed. Now, don't get me wrong. I've heard you say this before. There needs to be some element of greed, but at a certain point, when people that are putting in the work, going up and going to work and trying to better themselves are still struggling to feel comfortable, to feel like they're making a difference or making progress, all of a sudden, depending on how your algorithm is, it'll tell you whose fault it is, and you'll buy into that. I think a lot of the reason, like why were a bunch of kids all for Gays for Palestine? If you were to go to Palestine, see how they would actually treat you.
They wouldn't. You'd be dead.
But they're getting that from TikTok, which I think, in my opinion, algorithms from foreign agents are putting that into basically what kids are getting. And so mine would be different than yours, which would be different than his, which would be different than a girl his age. And I think that's where a lot of these divides come from, because then we come to argue these things and, well, I've seen this so many times that in my brain it's matter of fact, and it's not. It's a lot more nuanced than that.
You said a lot. Let me tackle what I believe to be the most important thing of what you just said there. What is the American dream to you?
It's the ability to, one, be free. I think you should be able to say what you can say. Now, there's consequences. That doesn't mean you should get your head blown off. It just means like, hey, you said some out-of-pocket shit and you can't work for me anymore. That's fair. Like, you have to act in a certain way if you're going to represent a company. You need to be able to own a home, or have the ability to own a home. You don't necessarily have to own one if you don't want to cut your grass and you like renting better, and just have some kind of progress where you can at least provide for how you want to live. I think it would be nice for everybody to have the ability to have vacations, spare time to invest in themselves, not have to overly work themselves to death where they can't even enjoy any passions or hobbies. I saw something the other day where Bernie Sanders was talking about, as automation happens, the work week should drop to 32 hours a week.
I saw the exact same speech.
Yeah. And he's had some really good stuff out there.
There's some wisdom in
I like some of the stuff
says.
Bernie says, because at least he's thinking ahead instead of being reactive. But and
How
those
do you
are
feel about Bernie's position with pharma in Israel?
a little more nuanced than that. Honestly, I've been watching more of what he's been saying about working and just kind of the stuff we're in. So I'm probably not as up to date on that because I haven't seen much of Bernie's stuff until recently.
It's just interesting how these politicians can have diametrically opposing positions on various things that you'd think they'd see alignment on. Somehow they don't.
Yeah, I mean, and I agree. And I still think to this day, if they hadn't have screwed him over in the primary, people just want to change. It was going to be either Bernie or Trump in 2016.
Man, you're touching the surface on a lot of things. Let me take a step back, because then I also want to talk about the Democratic Party. And no, I like it. I'm here for this shit, dude. I live in this fucking world, for better and worse. Let me take a step back to my question about the American dream. What is the American dream? You said that we have like the freedom of speech, but without necessarily you have the freedom of speech, but not the freedom of the consequences from your speech. But we shouldn't get shot. Here's the problem. The freedom of speech limits you to the liability within the law. You can't sue me for my speech unless it's like defamation. They have to prove it and all these other things. There are lots of limits to speech. And I would make the argument that during COVID, it was the Democratic Party in conjunction with CDC, WHO, in conjunction with the FBI and the CIA, the intelligence agencies, that were actively trying to fight and propagate the erosion of our freedom of speech. 100%. COVID was the single greatest attack on my rights and liberties that I've had as an American since I was a U.S. citizen, since I was 13 in my lifetime. Now, let me take a step back. So we don't necessarily have the freedom of speech that we think we do. Up into including, there are things that I can say, Jordan, that people could shoot me in the head for. They could. They could be so offended at some of the words that come out of my mouth that they take my life. The difference, and why I go back to the Charlie Kirk thing, is we should all, as a society, look at that and go, what the fuck, and not cheer it on. That's my thing. So I want to take a step back to the message of like the American dream. The American dream was that you could come to this country for a better life. A better life is a very broad term. It could mean I have $1 in my bank account, and after 50 years, I have $2 in my bank account. It can mean a lot of things. It can mean having 1 child. It can mean having 5 children. It can be having no children and a pool. Whatever it is that you find. This is the problem that I have with liberals, because they think that the way they think is how everybody thinks. But everybody values things differently. And everybody's metrics or measurements of like success, or when you say like people should have leisure time. Well, how much leisure time? 10 days, 30 days, 45 days? People should have the time for the things that they're passionate about. How many passions can they have? People should have this. I don't think that people should have anything. Nothing is afforded to you unless you're willing to work for it. That is the American dream. That the American dream in isolation is this. No one will get in your way. No one will get in your way. If you want to OD on heroin and die in the back alley, no one will get in your way. And if you want to be an Elon Musk motherfucker and make trillions of dollars, no one will get in your way. You decide what you want to fucking do and shut the fuck up. That's what I think the American dream is. The problem is, in real time, in our lifetime, they have been getting in the way. And the American dream went from get out of my way to get out of my house, to get out of my wallet, to get out of my bed, to get out of my way.
Yeah, for sure. And when I was talking about mine, I meant someone who's putting in work and actually putting in the effort should have the ability to do all those things.
Well, what is the metric for work?
I mean, I would say you're trying to work full time.
40 hours?
Yeah.
What if you're inefficient with that 40 hours?
35
what if you work
or 40 hours,
but you don't do shit?
Well, a lot of people don't do shit and they make plenty of money.
What I'm trying to get at is, you're correct. There is already a measurement for all these things. It's called capitalism. The market will decide all these things, Jordan.
You said come here for a better life, but
Yes.
see, you're the son of an immigrant. I am not. We were here, so our perspective is a little different. Doesn't mean either one's wrong. I talk about it like this is what you should be able to do in this country. I agree with everything about you, what you said about what you should be able to do. But then, yeah, government gets in the way. And, you know, it's funny, you were talking about all the freedom of speech things going on during COVID, and then they want to blame. That was a really effective thing to run on. And now what are they doing?
Oh, by the way, it's funny, but can we talk about that?
Yeah.
What happened when the Democrats wanted to censor and blacklist and shadow ban and all these other things? The Democrats cheered for it. They wanted it.
Yeah, that's because their team's winning.
But what happened when the conservatives even said a peep of it? What happened when Pam Bondi sat on that podcast and said the dumb shit that she did about hate speech, limiting hate speech? There was a tweet by Charlie Kirk, like literally like a year ago, talking about how hate speech is still freedom of speech. There's no such thing as hate speech. There's just speech. So it's funny that Pam Bondi, in her infinite retardation, said something that the conservative movement en masse is against, and they quickly backtracked. They have shot themselves.
By the way,
once again, I'm not a Republican. I'm really fucking not. But when I look at it objectively, the conservatives have been right more often than not in the last 10 years of my life. So forgive me if I sound a little sympathetic to the conservative cause. By the way, Charlie Kirk was kind of right on me. You want to know what my political leanings are? Very libertarian. You want to be gay and get married? Cool. Stop indoctrinating my kids. They're my fucking kids. You want free healthcare and all this other stuff? That's fine. Do it at the state level. Don't fucking get Big Brother down on me and increasing my federal income tax rate to pay for your trans surgeries. Suck my dick. You want to have an abortion? Fine. You pay for it. Stop asking me to pay for shit. If you want to do shit, fine. I will get out of your life. Get the fuck out of mine.
Yeah, and that was the big part that bothered me with, that was Charlie Kirk's opinion, you know? So as much as everybody wants to be, you know, inclusive and supportive of everybody, cool. Live and let live. I still think, you know, while there's a lot of radical things being pushed, you know, but just the regular, straight, middle of the line, people choose to live their life differently. I think it's okay for someone to be proud that they like more traditional values. What's wrong with that? The fact that he was like, you know, he leaned very hard on religion, but also, you know, I don't think it's a bad thing if society wanted to lean more on, you know, husband and wife and having a family dynamic for, and he said it for every culture.
Jordan, it's the only way we propagate society.
But
if you're all trans, if you're all gay,
but they took the fact that he championed that as an offense. And I'm like, that's his opinion, the way he lived, just like yours. So it doesn't mean he.
But hold up though. There's a theory and then there's application, there's reality. The truth of the matter is there are ways that we can live that propagate and expand life, and then there are ways to not. Did you know that in the last 10 years, a third of our population was aborted? We would have had a third more babies from the last 10 years. So like if you had, let's say in 10 years you had 1 million kids, you actually should have had 1.3 million kids, or 1.4 million. 1/3 of the population of kids were aborted. Now, I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong. That's not what I'm saying. If you want to have abortions, like I said earlier, your body, your choice. I believe that.
It's, you know, it's
but
not.
What I'm trying to say is there's a way to live that propagates life, that creates life. It's not the liberal way. The Democrats don't run on life. Now, I'm not saying that the conservatives have the answer, because of what I said earlier. They're the ones that say, like, have more kids, but then they won't create an economic situation where you feel like you can.
Yeah.
So they have their problems as well. But what I'm trying to say is one person, you could argue about the economics all you want, and I would argue about them because I'm not happy with the Republican Party on a lot of things. But one party says, have your kid. The other party says, do what you want with it.
Well,
which one will necessarily lead to a higher population that thinks like them? There's a reason why the Muslim world, the Islamic world is like running amok. And it's not because of, open borders and all this other stuff. It's because they're outbreeding us. Well, they have more children on average. So given over a couple generations, get replaced.
Yeah. When it comes to that number of abortions, obviously it's not something to celebrate, right? My question is, how many of those would not have happened if our economics was better, if people felt like they could afford it? Because I'm sure that was a sizable chunk of. Now, don't get me wrong.
That's a good question.
In any big lump sum, there's people that were going to do it anyway. There's probably some. It doesn't sound good, but some people don't need to have kids, right?
Who's to decide?
That's right. But I mean, I know what you're saying. But what if someone were to grow up in a crack house and just be mistreated and abused their whole life? What kind of life is that?
It's a shitty life until they decide that they can. Dude, I was dirt fucking poor, dude. By that same logic, my mom should not have had me. We were so fucking broke.
But it's not even about
Jordan. We were so fucking broke my whole life.
Yeah, but are your parents good people?
It depends on who you ask, Jordan.
Yeah, but did they take care of you in the way they could?
Did they try their hardest?
Yeah.
Yes.
There's people out there that won't do that.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean you should kill a baby.
No, but what happens? I'm not saying that.
Sorry.
But what becomes of that child? Do they fall into that same? If it's from poverty and no one's home, do they keep repeating those same patterns? Do they become the kid in school that gets bullied? It's just, you don't know how that plays out.
I'm not going to argue that there are definitely like circumstances in which a healthier upbringing will result in better people. 100% you're correct. But I don't necessarily think there's an upbringing so bad that you should kill a baby. Because 100%, like, the reason why I'm pro-choice is not because I believe in abortions. I think they're horrid. I don't agree with them at all. I don't think there's any good justifiable reason to kill a child. But the reason why I believe in abortion is because, for what I said earlier, the government should not be impeding on your life. Would I get an abortion? Would I let my wife get an abortion? And I say the words that way on purpose. No, that's not fucking happening. No one's killing my kids. No one. But if what you want to do with your circumstances, who am I to tell you? No, I'm not the lord of your castle. I'm not the arbiter of your world. I'm not your dad paying your bills. You can do whatever you want. I'm going to do whatever I want. However, we as a society need to acknowledge that this is a horrific thing. Horrific. There are reasons why I think abortion is sustainable and like the right answer. The rape, incest, health of the mother are the easiest low-hanging fruit.
How did Bill Clinton call it? It should be
safe, affordable, and rare.
Rare. Yep. So obviously that number.
But that's not the case now.
That number is a horrific number, but
abortion right now is being used in place of birth control.
So
the majority.
When I think about just that number in general, not
a third.
If that was added to the population, what kind of living would they? And this has nothing to do with why it did it. Let's just say, as automation comes and AI comes, if that lump sum was added to society, how productive would they be? Would they have jobs?
Immensely
and how
more.
would they
Immensely more.
But how would they be provided for? Like,
What do you mean provided
so
for?
as
How would they provide
well, they
for
already
themselves?
well no, they already expect AI to annihilate the job market
No,
anyway.
it won't. It'll amplify it.
I've seen estimates where they say, 10 years, maybe 100 million jobs gone.
Gone. And then how many will be created?
See,
How many entrepreneurs will be created?
nobody knows that number.
They thought the same thing when they didn't need typewriters anymore because now they had personal computers and computers within the offices of corporate America. So then instead of needing 20 secretaries, you only need maybe 5. And then what did those secretaries do? They did other shit.
And I see what you're saying, but the counterpoint with that would be is who's making all the decisions now? The people with money.
Yes.
And if they're going to make more
Jordan,
money by automating,
What if I told you the people with money have always been making the decisions?
yeah, of course they have.
But that's not like a
Yes.
it's not like a new thing.
But do we trust them to look out?
Yes, because I trust people to do what's in their own best interest, and they're not going to automate. Have economic growth and prosperity, you need enough robust economic opportunities and continuation and flow of money that you have people that can buy the product you're trying to produce. Now, there's 2 arguments to be had here. There's the argument of what you're wanting to articulate, and if I'm wrong, please interrupt me, okay? What you're trying to say is that the quality of life for Americans has been decreasing and that the economic opportunities for people have never been harder. I would make the argument that we live on average much better than our forefathers, like our predecessors.
Day to day, yes.
Yes. However, the economic hopefulness, I agree 100% with you. It is a lot harder. But is that a reflection of corporate America? Is that a reflection of greedflation? Is that a reflection of economic opportunities being segregated to the top 1%? Or is that a reflection of printing $7 trillion in 4 years where you told people they had to close their businesses because of the flu and that you would propagate stimulus, printing money, not doing anything to the supply of goods and services, but artificially mandating demand? What is going to happen?
So it's as you drive around town, anywhere in St. Louis now, right? You see them building these big apartment complexes, right? And I feel like no matter which legislation is passed, big, beautiful bill, anything. By the way, I typed that thing in AI and said, who benefits from this the most? The rich. Who benefits the least? The poor. It feels like there's always a squeeze. So much so that I feel like they are trying to get us all on what would be called like a subscription model, right? So your rent would be a subscription. You want to be entertained? Your Netflix subscription. Your phone is a subscription. I feel like we're being conditioned to not own anything, and you're going to like it. Now, there's models out of that. So, just look at how many houses were bought up that are starter homes that people can't afford now because they're being rented out or big corporations bought them through. So if they want to make a difference there, and RFK talked about that, like let's stop these big companies from buying up these starter homes because then nobody can build equity and even start building wealth on that. So that's what I'm looking at. Is I feel like we're being conditioned, like everything's going to cost more, and you know what? You'll still have access to it monthly.
Let me ask you like an A or B question. This is your truth, like what you honestly feel. Do you think that your economic prosperity has been diminished more because of our national debt or because of billionaires?
Ooh, that's tough.
Who hurt you more, Jordan? The government or Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg? Who hurt you more?
Those guys didn't help as much, but they benefit from data mining.
That's not the question. My question is, who has made your life harder? The government or billionaires?
I wouldn't fault billionaires. They're only doing what the hand was dealt with them. But for me, I think if you look even back to when Reaganomics started, that's when all this shit started going south in the 80s.
I think that there is a sharp trend change Bush Jr. Like 2000, 2001. Post-dot-com crash, post-Clinton into Bush, right around 9/11. If you look at our economics,
Well, that would explain the housing. I remember my dad, my mom bought a house. How many bedrooms were in that? It's like a 5-bedroom, 4-bathroom house, 3 levels. It's what we lived in when I was 13. We moved into it. It was $135,000. It's like $500,000 right now.
why?
I'm sure there's a multitude of reasons.
But if you were to do a pie chart What do you think the number one reason? You're right. There is a multitude of reasons for that. It is a product of inflation, a product of economic opportunities, a product of, land on average has only ever appreciated unless it was brought out by catastrophic events, right? If a meteor hits your house, I don't think your house is going to be worth what you think it is, right? That's separate. If you were to do a pie chart, why do you think that house went from $135,000 in 2001 to $500,000 in 2025? What was the main driver of that?
The main driver, I would say globalization, bad policy.
Be more specific. That's a very generic. I think I agree with you, but be a little bit more specific.
It's just over the time. It's a very good question. I think it's a multitude of things.
I think you know the answer.
Tell me.
No. I think you know the answer, Jordan. I think all liberals know the answer. Not that I'm saying you're a liberal. I think all Democrats and all Republicans know the answer.
Let me hear it.
The answer has been allocation of resources that have never benefited Americans in the last decade, 2 decades, now leaning on almost 3 decades within my lifetime, that have not served the American people in any way, shape, or form, but have served NGOs, have served money launderers, have served criminals, traitors, everything, and legislative, judicial, and executive branches. That's what I think has happened. It is not the product of billionaires. The billionaires would have been billionaires if it was China, if it was Russia, if anybody else would have been the superpower, the hegemony of the world. Because people don't want to hear this, but here's the absolute truth. Because I've spent time with immensely wealthy people. They are smarter than the average person. They work harder than the average person. If you stripped everybody's money today and had like this big pool of money, these people would become exceptional again. Now, am I saying that being poor is easy? No, being poor is hard. And I think that there's a decadency or like this death spiral of poverty where it's like, I don't have money and like my car breaks down. So like I can't fix it. So now I lost my job. So now I'm not making money. So I'm not making money. So like I can't pay my bills. So now I'm poor. Poverty has a death cycle, 100%. You can strip the anecdotal micro arguments while still saying the truth about the macro arguments. The macro arguments is too much government interference has gotten us to this point where they've devalued your dollar to, by the end of next year, to the tune of $40 trillion. And then you wonder why assets have ballooned. Assets have ballooned because the value of the dollar in your wallet is worth less. Not worthless. It is worth space less. It is not billionaires. It is not entrepreneurs. It's not me. It's not you. It's not him. It's none of the people that we know. You will never come into contact with any of the people that have hurt you most. And that's the truth.
So what do you think the solution is to that? I think here pretty soon, there's going to have to be some real big talks. You know, they kept talking about UBI and all this stuff.
That's impossible.
Yeah, I don't see how that would actually work.
Here's the only answer, because you're not going to tax your way out of this debt.
No.
Okay.
Actually, we're taxed too much.
I agree with you.
Way too much.
I agree with you. You said earlier that AI was going to be this thing that, like, you know, basically disposes of like a bunch of people and that we're not going to need it. That's just simply not the case based on human history. If you look at the Roman Empire, which was at the time the most economically advanced, it was advanced because of the infrastructure investments that they made, their ability to learn at that time what was considered modern science, modern technology, something as simple as like going and taking a shit outside of like the public streets saved more lives than any sort of product or service that had ever been invented up until that point. Something as simple as like modern sewage. Like, did you know that like the things that amplify our life the most that people kind of take for granted is like, oh, I turn on my shower and I have hot water. Oh, I can shit diarrhea and I don't even have to worry about it. I can just flush a toilet and it goes somewhere.
I mean, those are necessities we take for granted.
Well,
too.
that's
like hot
one
water.
of the main reasons why our quality of life has never been great. We live like the kings of old. Even if you're poor, you live better than a king would back in 1400.
But like, as they build more robots, they're going to bring manufacturing back for who? The
No,
robot.
no.
So what are you going to do? Buy a robot and send it to work?
No. This is what's going to happen because it's the same thing that history repeats itself. So I started with the Roman Empire. When was the next big leap in the productive capabilities of humanity?
The Industrial
The
Revolution.
Industrial Revolution. What did the Industrial Revolution do? Did it remove jobs?
No, it put them in factories.
Exactly. So what did we have? We had less what? Farmers.
Less farmers.
Prior to the Industrial Revolution, if you were to ask Americans what their primary source of income was, 85% of them would have said farming. 40 years later, 10% said farming. Now it's sub 2% are farmers.
Well,
Yet those
yeah.
2% of farmers produce enough to sustain the rest of us.
So what was the last labor force that didn't have to be paid, though?
The last labor force that didn't have to be paid, slaves.
Yeah.
There's
That's what
more
they-
slaves today than there ever have been in human history.
Yes, but
Ask a Uyghur Muslim in China.
Yes, but I'm talking America. Are they going to pay robots when they start doing the labor?
No.
So where's that money go?
There'll be productive capability, so they'll be doing all the shit you don't want to do so you could do other shit and monetize that shit. Do you plow your field, Jordan?
No, I don't have.
How do you make money?
I don't have a field.
Do you have a slave that picks your cotton?
No.
How do you make money?
But what I'm saying is,
Where's
they're
your
going to bring
typewriter,
if
Jordan?
they're going to bring jobs back that robots and AI can do, and all you're going to do is be a person that hits a button. What are they going to actually pay you?
Why do you need to be paid from someone? You now have the productive capabilities to create your own business from the comfort of your home using your robots and your AI technology.
But if everybody creates a business, it's like if everybody's special, nobody's special.
Agreed.
So if everybody has a business, which ones live? And which
The
ones?
best, the brightest.
Okay. So what happens to those that don't
Don't
whenever
work
the
for somebody
traditional
else.
jobs are gone?
Same thing as has happened for the last 300 years.
You're a
in
little
America.
more optimistic than me.
It's not
on
that I'm
this one.
optimistic. It's history. What are we going to do? Mass kill people?
Yeah, in history though, we've never had automation like this or robots.
I agree, but what I'm trying to say though is within human history, every time we've had immense productive capabilities logarithmically increase, it has been to the attribution net positive to humanity.
What worries me about this is it's like the race to the moon, where every other country is trying to get the fastest and best AI, and they've already tried to update it, and it copied itself and tried to hide.
Now, okay, that's
So,
like a separate thing. We're talking
I
about
know,
general artificial
but
intelligence, right?
You've seen the movie I, Robot?
Yeah, but hold up. Can we take a step back? Like,
Yeah.
so general artificial intelligence is like another topic. I'm talking about robotics with AI.
Yeah.
Because I think what's,
I coupled the two though.
by the way, I think general artificial intelligence is like,
I use it all the time, by the way. I'm
you
not
don't
a
use
hypocrite.
general artificial intelligence.
No, I use
ChatGPT.
Yeah, I use it all the time.
Yeah. So do I, by the way. So do I. I say this often. I haven't written a line of code in 6 months.
Well, I honestly turn it on and I speak to it so it writes my emails because I don't want to type the whole shit
Yeah.
out and organize it and do. And
Why
then
do you still have a job?
Well, I edit it afterwards too.
Okay.
So, yes, but that's
So you still,
that's in its infancy.
Okay. But let me ask you this. When the personal computer was created, did it just like evaporate the economy? Because now one person can do the work of 10?
No, but it's
No,
still
it 10x the economy.
it's just I think the scale's a little different as we get to where we're
Agreed.
at now.
It's even more. Agreed. It's even more. I was able, this podcast used to cost me $2,000 a month. $2,000 a month was my run rate. Now I got it down to 500. And because I got it down, now I don't have to worry about money. I can pay this till the day I die and not make $1 and I'm cool. The reason I can do that is because of Cap Clip and because of Opus Clip. Opus Clip does all my clips and Cap Clip is really easy with the editing stuff. And I now can do the work of what used to be 3 people. I got to be completely honest with you. I don't even need a producer. vMix has the ability to have the producer. Like I don't really need, sorry, Adam, I love you. I don't need Adam. I don't need Tony. I don't need anybody. The reason I do that is because I still think that the human element adds value. And I think that is what AI and robotics is going to do. It's going to remind us that humans are really bad at work and that we're not good at working. What we have is souls. We have consciousness. We have articulate thought. And that the beauty of one another is our embrace of one another. So instead of looking at you as like your productive capabilities, I'll look at you more as like a human because I'm now living in a world with less limited resources because our productivity is so high. There's such an abundance that I will live better. Even if I live lower class and 30 years from now, I will still live better than my family, my My parents did, and that is why I have optimism. It's not that I have optimism because like what you're saying is wrong. Everything you're saying is true. Yes, a lot of people will lose their jobs. The way of if you're a lawyer right now, like an entry level lawyer, I'm sorry for what's about to happen to you. But you want to know what less people are going to need? Lawyers.
Yeah.
Because they'll have one on their phone. If you're like you were talking about telehealth, right? If you're a doctor, imagine the health coverage and the advancements in medical technology with advancements of AI to be able to pre-screen, to catch cancers way before they could ever go.
Dude, it's
There's
nuts.
so many good things that can happen from this.
It's nuts now. I had a bump on my knee that looked like it was going to turn into staph. And so I took a photo of it and I sent it into ChatGPT and I'm like,
Is this stuff?
well, it was going to be cellulitis, which I've had before. It's a pain in the ass. Painful. It's not spreadable. And so I take a photo of it and it would log it. And it was like, draw a circle around it. Do this, warm compress it, wrap it this way. And it coached me through a week until that thing went away. Because honestly, I didn't want to spend $1,000-something to go to the fucking urgent care.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I do think it's going to leave some people out. And I think if there was a way to have affordable housing and all that stuff, then it's not as big of an issue. But I don't think the people in charge are smart enough to plan for this. I think it's going to be reactionary, and I think it's going to come to a head at one point where the change has to come.
No, I think that the government is going to do the same thing that the government has done for the last 30 years, and that's shoot itself in the foot. And that the billionaires, no matter how much you don't like Sam Altman, no matter how much you guys don't like Elon Musk and all these other people, they're smarter, they're better than you. They're better than me. Sorry, they're doing way more. Their economic and historical footprint on society and humanity will be greater than anything I ever do, outside of my daughter. She's the best thing ever, okay? So what I'm saying to you is the government will do the same thing the government always does. They're going to overregulate, legislate, and all this other stuff. Meanwhile, China and all of our competitors will be like, go fuck yourself, America. Yep. Now, let me go back to the original question I asked you. Forgive me. Because my fear in all of this, you were asking me like I'm optimistic. There's actually one thing I'm very pessimistic about. I am seeing an overswelling push towards socialism and communism from people that think that it was capitalism that got us to this point. I cannot stress this enough. Capitalism did not run a budget deficit to the tune of $40 trillion over 25 years. That wasn't capitalism.
No, that was humans.
That was government.
Yeah.
And what are we seeing right now from our generation? People with growing discontent in the system blaming capitalism for the faults of government, trying to give more power to government to tax capitalists more.
They call it late stage capitalism.
Yes. Now, you said earlier, like, if you allow for monopolies and all these other things, you'll eventually get crony capitalism, 100%.
Speaking of which, how many media outlets are being
conglomerated right now?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, there's a discussion to be had about the conglomeration or the integration of a bunch of industries, including poultry, alcohol, media, technology. You're absolutely correct. But that's also the fair market at play. The cream will rise to the top. The only time that government should step in is to be the referee, not the judge, jury, and executioner.
We need Teddy Trustbuster back.
We do. That's why I think Teddy Roosevelt was one of the best presidents ever, because he went to J.P. Morgan and said, fuck you.
Yeah, that's a big
deal. He
deal.
said, fuck you. And that's what we need right now.
That's a pretty big deal. That guy. But yeah, as I see it, more consolidation here. That's what I'm saying. It's kind of looking like it did back in 1929.
But then what we need is antitrust and things like that. That's when the government should step in. Instead, what's happening is people are asking for higher taxation so we can get free shit. You can't afford free shit. You can't afford it. Yeah. We don't have the money for it. So we don't have the money. We bring in $5 trillion a year, Jordan. $5 trillion a year we bring in. We don't have a money-making problem.
No, and
we already have a money spending problem.
Even going back to before the 1929, they had the Smoot-Hawley tariffs, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like we're reliving the same thing.
Well, I believe in tariffs.
But, I mean, there's application to them, but the reason...
Universal application.
The reason that this mayor, the guy that's running for mayor in New York, the reason he's resonating is because what's working, the current system, the people that are listening to him don't feel like the system's working for him. For them. So that's why they're hearing that.
No, I don't think that's what it is, Jordan. You want to know what I think it is?
What do you think
I think it's losers.
Well, there might be an aspect to that, but if someone says, "Hey, the rent keeps going up,"
yes, move, don't live there.
Well, that is an aspect to
Who's
it.
keeping you there?
But that's
No. What you want is you want your cake and you want to eat it too.
That's why that
you
stuff
want to live in
resonates,
New
though.
York. You want the benefits of the city and all that stuff, but you're not earning enough to live there. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That sucks. Move.
But
I live in the Rust Belt, St. Louis. Why?
Yeah.
Because the cost of living is cheap. Could I live in the coast? Yeah. I'm lower middle class. No, I'd rather be upper middle class in St. Louis.
But you can see why that would be an argument that people would listen to,
I think losers listen to
whether feasible or not. Yeah, but they vote.
Yeah. And they'll vote New York into the ground.
It's going to be interesting. That's
Because
for sure.
I'll tell you what's going to happen. The same thing that's already happening. New York City is having a mass exodus of the wealthy. And here's the thing that people don't want to, it's the truth.
So is California. Well, not completely.
Jordan, I paid $85,000 in taxes, just myself, last year, not including my wife. $85,000 I paid in taxes. Do I get $85,000 of value for my tax dollars when I drive on the streets and I have to dodge every pothole, when half the fucking schools in St. Louis suck, when crime downtown is a muck? Do I get $85,000 of value a year? By the way, the $85,000 is like federal and state. There's also 1% city, so whatever the fuck I paid to them.
Yeah, you don't get a line item. Of what
Meanwhile,
you
I
got.
still get a fucking ticket if I park on the wrong side of the street on a Tuesday some month. It's retardation, brother. When we say the system is broken, you can say that about aspects of capitalism, but it is mostly government. It is mostly government.
Yeah, taxes. That's a real interesting thing because we started a civil war over the tea tax.
Yeah.
It turned, well, we call it a revolution, but it was a civil war if you learn in England. So, you know, so.
Funny how that works.
Yeah, I saw that.
History is written by the victors, so the Revolutionary War.
I saw that. Somebody said, some English scholars said the Revolutionary War was actual civil war that we lost. And I was like,
it's the truth.
yeah, I was like, I've never seen it that way, but yeah.
The Civil War wasn't the war of northern aggression because we won.
Yeah, exactly. But it's interesting times. I don't know where it's going. I see some things that I like that's going on. I see some things I don't like going on. But
I have optimism in the system.
I
was actually talking to Frazier about this because Matt was like really worried about all these things. And I go, Matt, during COVID, you had the Democratic Party that actively tried to censor, shadow ban, attack the rights of, cancel, all these other things. There's never been such a war on our First Amendment and our Second Amendment rights. There was never a time more greater than COVID for power acquisition to happen, and it failed.
It's like,
it failed royally. It failed royally. So I have faith in the American system. I do. I think that if it took us 30 years to fuck it up, it might take us 30 years to fix. But I trust, if I were to I bet on America before any other country. And I don't know how much you've traveled, Jordan, but let me tell you something. I've been to...
Yeah, you went home.
Yeah. But I went to 16 different countries in the span of like 6 years, okay? There is not a single country that... I don't want to name them because I don't want to badmouth anywhere. There is not a single country I would ever live over America.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to live anywhere else.
It's here.
And I think...
This is it.
Part of the reason... You know what happens? I think people think we're being overly critical here, like it's not good.
We should.
We just
know... We should criticize.
Yeah.
We should criticize.
We just know it could be better.
It could be better. Yes.
But they want neighbors arguing over shit, and there's just no sense of community anymore, you know? So it's...
Well, we can't agree on this most fundamental thing. I bet you the question I asked you earlier of like, what got us to this point? I bet you'd get 100 different answers. Mm-hmm. It's capitalism. It's the gays. It's, them trannies. Like, you're going to get 100 different fucking answers. It's the MAGA Republicans. No. It's been the same thing that it's been since antiquity in human history. Your government, your elected officials that don't represent you. We said this off the record, but I want to say it on the record if you don't mind.
We'll go for it.
The executive branch within my lifetime has only ever gained power, but it's not because the executive branch went and took the power. It's because the legislative branch has given the executive branch that power because they don't want to act. They don't want to vote. They don't want to legislate because that will then create fissures and possibly lead them to being voted out. You have career politicians that would rather do nothing and kick the can to the executive or the judicial branch and then do nothing except for toe the party line, follow your minority or majority leader, and then just be like, well, I could break, but I'm only one of 400 something representatives, or I'm only one of 100 senators.
And what they are influenced by. I was listening to someone talk about AIPAC.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you start running for office, hey, they'll take you to Israel and they'll show you around.
You know what's even
finance you.
darker about AIPAC? How much money do we give Israel a year? $3 billion.
Yeah.
At the beginning of January, and it's not we don't give it to them like in a way where it's transparent and they'll show us where the money goes. So it's entirely possible that every year we give Israel $3 billion and a part of that goes to AIPAC
there's where your
to then
80,000
lobby our fucking politicians.
There's where your 80,000 went.
Yeah, that's where my 80,000. No, my 80,000 went to one bomb on some Palestinian home
Yeah.
to kill some brown kid that I'll never fucking meet. That's where my $85,000 went. Or it went to a Kalashnikov in some 60-year-old Ukrainian on the front line who's about to get killed by some $40 drone.
That's one thing I do.
That's
like
where my
that I'm
money
seeing
goes.
is that a lot of those are being ended. A lot of the wars, they're trying not to do it. They're trying to get peace deals.
I agree. I don't want to sound pessimistic about this.
But
until what? The next war? Until the next conflict?
hey, man, after the Great Depression, what brought us out?
Technically speaking, it wasn't World War II. It was the way we planned World War II and then did the rebuilding of World War II. It wasn't the World War that got us out of the Depression. It was winning it. Because there was a lot of opportunity.
We waited to enter, though, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. We didn't have to do anything. We could have
No.
just been a neutral party.
No.
Listen, the Axis would have lost.
It made us the superpower.
Hitler
though.
was going to lose regardless. Germany was not going to win that war.
It made us the superpower.
Yes, it did. That's why we got out of the Great Depression.
But
So,
it's very interesting times.
forgive me. I hope I didn't rant too much.
No, go for it. And I want to see solutions. You know, everybody's talking about the premiums for the Affordable Care Act going up, and I have not heard any solutions other than
Well, the ACA sucks.
so.
It was always bad.
Well, and in some aspects, it was not.
No, get single payer or get universal Medicare.
Yeah. So
If you want to really give people health care, then give them health care. Don't do what Obama did. Obama conspired with pharmaceutical companies, and as long as he towed some sort of line that they wanted, they would allow for this legislation to get pushed. And this was the crowning achievement of his presidency, and it's a hunk of shit. It's bad health care.
so
It's fundamentally bad.
there's not been a better one offered, though.
Agreed.
What do you think of Medicare for all?
Depends. Who's funding it? How?
Yeah,
Are
exactly.
you going to increase my taxes? Suck my dick.
Do you think health
Do
insurance?
I think that there's money within already? If we reallocated funds and stopped spending $1 trillion a year on defense, then
Do you
okay.
think health insurance should be tied to a full-time employer?
I think that the productive capabilities of an individual should directly correlate to how much they receive from their entities. Yes. Now, whether that's full-time, maybe if you work part-time, you get part-time health insurance. If you are elderly and you've already worked, then obviously I wouldn't necessarily mandate that you need to be productive until you're 78. But here's the other thing I'm going to say. We're talking about the part of the budget that we can kind of talk about, the non-discretionary spending. But the discretionary spending. But there's the majority of that pie is the non-discretionary spending. It's Medicare and Medicaid. It's Social Security. So what I'm saying is you already have some systems in place. Like, you don't have to recreate the wheel. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Social Security is insane. The way we do Social Security, the way we fund it is insane. Because there's not a person on this planet that would tell you, take $100, put it in a mattress, and then keep taking $100, put it in your mattress, and then when you're older, just spend that money. Because of inflation, that money is losing value every day. People are going to get mad at me. If you were to take 10% of our money pool that we would have had, because right now it's almost bankrupt, it should be bankrupt by 2030. If you would have taken 10% of the liquid funds that we would have had and invested it in the market, the economic opportunities, prosperity, and growth from that money would have been exponential. And then you can liquidate as people retire to pay, keeping the fluctuation within the market because you're simultaneously buying new stock with the money that you're getting and then selling old stock to pay for the retirees. And people could have actually had a greater quality of life. Instead, what we do is we have this slush fund that we tap into for everything else that we want to do. The Social Security money pool is the most tapped money pool for endeavors that we want to fund immediately. So we always take from Social Security and then kind of like print that money and put it back later.
That sounds like a bad idea.
Yeah, sounds like a bad idea.
The ACA did do some things that were good. So when I was in college, I was misdiagnosed with something called Crohn's disease. At the time, I had to get an injection. It was like, basically I was hooked up to an IV for a transfusion every 2 months. The medication was $8,000 every 2 months just to keep the symptoms under control. Luckily, I didn't end up having it. It was something else. But I had to graduate early and not finish my teaching certificate because it wasn't passed at the time. And since it was labeled a pre-existing condition, if I did not jump to another healthcare program, I would not have been able to get healthcare because of a pre-existing condition. So I would have been paying that out of pocket. What? So the ACA it got rid of the pre-existing conditions clause, and also it extended the amount of time you could be on your parents' health insurance to 26.
Yeah, instead of 23.
It went away at 23. So it did a lot.
Sorry.
Yeah, it did a lot for our young people. So that was a good action because imagine. So what I did was I graduated and I got a job at Best Buy and I got United Healthcare plan.
That's hilarious because United Healthcare is the worst one.
Yeah, but
I also have United Healthcare.
But for me, it was like I need to get on this one, and I can't finish my teaching degree because I got the master's in education later, but I never got the in-class teaching certification because at that time I couldn't afford to then
Could you
not
go back
work.
and do it?
No, because you have to student teach the entire time, so it's like not being paid to work. There's ways to do it.
Education's broken too, but
there's ways to do it where like you could go back and go to school at night for 2 years and do it, but education is strange right now because I do see a lot of the things conservatives are saying about what's being pushed on kids and the stuff there's conversations that one of my best friends and his now 10-year-old daughter have had that he shouldn't have had already, you know?
Oh, from school?
Yeah. And like
not the puberty talk, but
just all the other stuff that's like in books.
10 years old is what, fifth grade? Because fifth grade was when we got like the little deodorant and the little puberty pamphlet.
Yeah, I remember that.
So like, what are we talking about when you say like the conversations? Like, I just want to make sure I understand.
Like they'll be watching a kids movie and like a girl will kiss another girl, and she's like, "Well, that's kind of weird." No, unlike you know, like
Netflix
Pixar movies and stuff now, you know. It's just it's hidden in kids things that it wasn't before. It's like when Hocus Pocus 2 came out, right? Did you ever watch that?
No.
So the sequel came out.
Sorry.
Yeah. So I mean, it wasn't that bad, but there's a scene where they're just running away, and all of a sudden it pans to like they're running. There's two people sitting outside the house, and they run past the window, and on the couch is two gay men cuddling. Why was that thrown in there? Does anybody really care about two gay men doing it? But why was it thrown in a kids show for 6-year-olds to ask the question? Because the joke with that movie was, even in 1993, kids were asking their parents, "What's a virgin?"
Yeah.
You know, so there was something that was on Netflix the other day they called a lot of shit for. One of the Transformers show, it was a transformer and a girl talking about their non-binary, and those are conversations that kids don't need to have.
Let me ask you this question: do you think if education was checking all the other boxes, we would care about this as much? Because I think
Probably not.
I think hypersexualizing kids is wrong. First of all, let me say that. But if we were number one in literacy, if we were number one in mathematics, if we were number one in science and all this other stuff, and our kids were going on and becoming enlightened individuals, do you think we would care as much?
Probably.
Or are our kids coming home stuck to their fucking phone, dumber than fucking ever, and now they're trans?
I think there's a few things to that. I think if education was better, it'd be different. I think if
educators just educated.
Yes, I feel like there's agendas passed on in forms of teaching. There's opinions passed on in forms of teaching. I feel like there's some trendy things that are being passed on to kids that almost contain, I would call, aspects of a social contagion because it's trendy. And I think
what's happened to the rate of transgender, the people that kids under the age of 18 that have labeled themselves as transgender, what's happened in the last 8 months? It's decreased by 94%.
Good. I hope so, because
what does that mean? Does that mean that we've always had this number of trans people? Are there trans people? Yes. Are there gay people? Yes. Like objectively, you can view that.
Yeah, and
But
they should be.
Can we all also acknowledge that people can be persuaded towards things?
Yes.
By textbook definition, based on the last 5 years, we can label that as true. True as true can get. Yes.
And, in high school, we had those kids. It was a different time period. I get it.
Most of them were just gay.
And we weren't mean to them.
Well, you guys were better.
In junior high, they got treated a little differently. But in high school, everybody was kind of like, everybody's a little different, I get. But, inclusion's not a bad thing. But I think when you make
you can't force it, though.
When you make it look like
But Jordan, you can't force it because when you say like inclusion, let me ask you this: if someone had good moral character and they were like hardworking and all these other things, honest, but they were gay, would you care?
No.
Because the other variables are still matching with you. But if someone's an asshole, if someone steals and all these other things, and they're gay, but now you have to include them because they're gay and you can't be homophobic, is that right?
They're just a dick.
But what I'm trying to say is inclusion makes sense, but you can't force it. When I was growing up, being racist was not cool. Like with me and my friends, like if you called a black guy the hard R, or if you were like homophobic, that just wasn't cool. But we didn't have to be told that. It was a conclusion that we were coming to ourselves through enlightenment, through the innocence of childhood. Now, race has never been such a propagated issue. Homosexuality and trans and all this other stuff has never been more propagated in the schools. So it's like, yes, the problem is because we have less in common, and now you're telling me to include these people more? I'm sorry. No, not because you're black, not because you're Hispanic, not because you're a woman, not because you're gay, not because you have Downs or autism or whatever, because you're fundamentally, your moral character is different from mine. When you start to value the same things that I value, the way I value them, I don't care about all these extracurriculars. But the problem is we no longer have this Venn diagram where we connect on 90% of things and disconnect on 10. Now it's the other way around. And then I'm told that I'm a bigot or shut the fuck. I hate when these people talk because I'm like, you're so stupid. You don't even see the argument before you.
Well, and that's where I think a lot of this comes down to the internet, because I've seen videos that just, I have a TikTok just so when people send me stuff, but I don't have enough time. People will send me, you'll send me funny stuff. I'll see it 3 days later just because it's, I get
when
to it.
When you got time. My memes are good.
I get to it when I get to it, right?
Your memes are good too, brother.
But, I've seen videos on TikTok that are targeted at kids, and they're probably going to be just, and then I'll see something that someone's pointed out, like my kid just got this video, and it's like, hi kids, are you a boy or a girl? Well, how do you feel? How you feel is different. And it's just like, it's targeting these kids and confusing them. And this is an age where they believe
leading them to,
and people are like, oh, well, we're trying to normalize certain things. Oh, it's okay. That's okay. I get it. We can do that when they're older, but they're at an age where they still believe in Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, and their parents are ultimately the, really good,
Can I
right
ask
or
you another
wrong.
question, Jordan?
Yeah, go for it.
Which is the party that's propagating this?
I think, well, there is a party that's propagating that, but I also think it's contributed offshore.
Can you explain what you mean? I think I understand.
If I was a different country, and let's say I was China, let's say I was Russia, and the U.S. is a superpower, I can't beat them now, but I'm going to play the long game. I'm going to try and beat them in 20 years. How do I destabilize how they view their country, how they want to grow up in the country, how they get along with everybody else? I'm going to get a bunch of troll bot farmers, and I'm going to target their youth with certain messages that I want. And over time, as they see it, that's where you're going to see Gays for Palestine.
Yeah.
And you're going to see a bunch of people on college campuses not even able to have...
Let me re-ask the question, because I do agree with everything you just said.
Yeah.
I do agree with that. If you were to have a pie chart, which is the number one, like, so there's, 20% is here, 10% is here, 50% is here. Where do you think the majority of that issue, where do you think it stems from? Do you think it stems from overseas or within our borders?
I don't know, because I think they play off each other.
I agree there. But then who has to ultimately make the decision? Who's more at fault? Do I fault China for trying to supersede us? No. Do I fault my politicians?
For letting them.
Yes.
They let them.
Yes.
When they were talking about shutting down TikTok, I'm like, good. You guys want a version of that? Make an American version of it where we can...
We do. It's called Instagram. It's called... We already have social media.
Do you know what a walled garden is?
Yes.
So,
but do you mind explaining it? Sorry.
Yeah. So, Netflix would be what you consider a walled garden. If they're going to have advertisements in there that only they control, they're not going to take outside stuff. You have to negotiate with them directly to be in their walled garden. They control everything in this garden.
Or you'll pay a premium if they don't like your message.
That's how I feel like our TikTok and all that should be. Now, don't get me wrong. As companies are conglomerating at the top for all the news sources, they're still going to control what we get, kind of like V for Vendetta, if you've ever saw that.
Or how AIPAC and the Israel lobby completely overtook TikTok now.
Yes. I think that's a big driver of the division and why people are going to argue over the dumbest shit in the world.
I think there is some truth to what you're saying. I do. I think that it probably amplifies some of the fissures that have already been created. But when I think to myself, who has created those fissures, I look within. China can only separate us if we're separated. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So
when we're talking about the propagating the youth to get them into this queer ideology and all this other stuff, mind you, I want to make sure I say something. I am a live and let live guy. If you have not understood that by now, I very much am. I don't agree with abortion, but I don't think you shouldn't have. I should rob your right to do it. I don't agree with certain lifestyles, but I don't think I could tell you what to do with your body, with your limited time on this planet, so long as you don't impede on the rights and liberties of myself. Do you boo-boo, okay? But we have to objectively view society through a lens of like, what sort of lifestyles are more healthy for society? This is the truth. So I can separate the micro and the macro. I can say that if two men want to butt fuck, be my guest. Who am I to stop you? But if all men exclusively fucked men, we die in the next 30 years. So can we say that? So then when we're talking to the next generation, when we're talking to them, I think it would behoove us as a society if we didn't propagate a lifestyle that was more conducive to the successful replacement of our own for our own. I don't want to import illegal immigrants because we're not having enough kids. I don't want to create a generation of mutilated kids because they thought they were girls when they were boys or boys when they're girls. I don't want to create a whole generation of people that are sexually confused because they were given way too much shit way too early. But there is one political party, Jordan, that is for all these things, and there was one that was not. I am an independent, Jordan. When you were talking earlier about how like the person stayed in the same, but the Overton window shifted, I was a moderate. I was even probably a little left-leaning in my youth. And I stayed the same. This is how I've always been, even when I was like 18, 19, 20. And boy, have they fucking moved that window. And now I've been labeled a conservative by most people, when in reality, I always thought that I was more of a libertarian than ever. And that's because the Democratic Party within my lifetime has gone from good party to you guys are dumb to, okay, you're traitors.
Well, there's no good leaders in there right now.
I would say that the leadership is a direct reflection of the masses that they have created. How can you lead the Democratic Party when half the party wants to end capitalism and vote for socialism and communism? How do you have a political party like that? The Democratic Party ate itself.
Yeah, they have some significant problems coming up.
Yes.
There's a point I was going to make.
But the problem is now the Republican Party doesn't have a clear opponent that can like actually fight, right? And my fear is this. I want a strong Democratic Party. I want a strong liberal coalition.
You need one.
Because it'll force the Republicans to stay honest. But right now, because they're so weak, because they're so mismanaged, because they're so disillusioned with themselves, it allows the Republicans to run amok. It allows for the big, beautiful bill, which I fucking think is retarded, to get passed. It allows them to shut down government, and I'm not feeling a difference in my life. Are you?
My dad's not collecting a paycheck, so yeah.
Forgive me for your dad.
Yeah.
I'm truly sorry. But I'll tell you what it's going to do. It's going to create an entire generation of people that are like, why am I working for the government? Which, by the way, is a good question. If you were to factor in NGOs, contracts, federal contracts to corporations and all that stuff, it's getting to the point where the federal government is now the main employer of Americans. I don't like that. That's not capitalist. Because if you want to talk shit on AWS, Amazon, if you want to talk shit about Apple and all these other companies and all that stuff about like too big to fail, look no further than the federal government. They're the main employer of Americans.
Well, pendulums swing back and forth. So as the pendulum starts to swing back,
hopefully we don't go too far right. I agree with you there.
So already there, since Charlie Kirk was killed, they said church attendance and Bible purchases are increased. So as people push back on, the cultural things they don't agree with, they were going to shift that way too. Things are a little tighter. People feel a little bit more lonely, so people are going to lean that direction. So it just depends which side's in charge, because they're always going to call the other side on some shit and then try and do it themselves. So, but there's certain fights you got to pick fights on. Like there's people throwing a fit now because part of the White House is getting renovated.
The Rose Garden.
Yeah, I mean, they saw some of the building getting collapsed, and they're adding on to it.
Did they say who funded it?
Yeah, well, some
you
of
know
them
who's
did.
funded it right
yeah,
now?
it's privately funded by him.
Yeah,
by Trump.
But what does that mean though? Privately funded by Trump. What does that mean?
That he's
Trump
paying
is
for it.
paying for it out of his own pocket.
So, and then if
How
you
can
go,
we be mad about that?
if you go through it, there's tons of different times where there was things added to it. I think Nixon added a bowling alley, someone added a pool.
Yeah. Not with their money.
I don't give a shit about
but not
that.
with their money.
But why are you arguing about that? It's just like every little thing you can
Can I tell you why?
because it's turned into political theater.
No, because for the last 10 years, the Democratic Party has chosen to make an enemy out of Trump. When he was a candidate, when he was a president, when he was a former president, and now when he's a president again. For the last 10 years.
Well, they always do it.
You've never seen in in American history, you've never seen when Trump used to say, the media treats me so terribly, no president has ever been treated this terribly. It used to be hyperbolic. I used to be like, Trump, relax, dude. Now he's right. He's right.
They do treat him differently.
No, they treat him the worst.
It didn't start with that.
No,
the
but
right
Jordan,
did the same.
it's never been this
No,
bad.
I'm hearing you, but I'm telling you, it's not. This isn't the only time it's happened. Do you remember when Obama wore a tan suit? Do you remember when he was first elected and the Tea Party cared about spending?
When Jefferson ran for president against John Adams, each presidential candidate had their own newspaper. And they would run scathing articles on one another. Jefferson used to write, he wouldn't write it. His newspaper would write that John Adams was a hermaphrodite. Yeah. And wasn't even a real man. Yeah. This has always been a thing, correct? The propagation of lies and all these things.
But they totally did it with Obama. It's like, oh, he wasn't a citizen born here. Oh, he likes fancy mustard on his bratwurst. It was a true story.
Jordan.
He got sworn in on a Quran.
Are we saying that Obama got the same pushback as Trump? Is that what you're saying? Are you saying that Obama's criticism from the media is the same as Donald Trump? Is that what you're saying?
That's where it started, and it's escalated from there. No,
it's been before that. It was Bush Jr., it was Clinton.
Well, I know that, but what I'm saying is the internet came out, more people were on it. Like, they start nitpicking real stories, and then they just keep going. Now we're in a whole nother realm. I don't disagree with that, but also he egged some of it on. Did you see the video he put of him dropping shit on the city?
I think Trump has gotten to the point now where he just doesn't care anymore.
He eggs it on.
Well, why? Because the Democratic Party has never been so weak, so the Republican Party never had to try less hard. Now you got the sitting president of the United States literally posting AI meme videos.
Dude, when he put himself as the Pope, I couldn't help. I was laughing. Laughed.
He is funny.
I laughed.
He is a funny guy. He is a funny guy. But if you think Donald Trump knows how to create those videos, that is not it.
No. But
that is some Gen Z aide that's like, hey, this is what's hit with the kids.
But I really, really laughed at that. So it's, I don't know. We're only one. I'm kind of exhausted, and we're just 1 year in, just from both sides. It's just, we still got 3 more years.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How do you feel so far? This will probably be like one of the last questions, because we're already 2 hours and 20 minutes. Sorry. How do you feel he's doing so far?
There's some things I like. The Big Beautiful Bill was shit.
Overall grade, and then we'll dissect. But if you were to give an overall grade,
dude, it's hard because some aspects are an A and some are an F.
Exactly. So if you were to overall grade it,
can we break it down to like foreign policy?
We'll do that, but after the overall grade.
Maybe C.
I give him a B. Okay. What is one aspect that you think he's doing, like the administration is crushing it on?
So I think a lot of their ideas I see merit to. It's their execution.
Okay, I agree, by the way.
So we're talking, Pete Hegseth bringing all the generals in for a
scolding. Of
like internally, they're all like, this fucking guy.
Yeah.
The border issue was a big deal. But why is, and now they're talking about Tom Homan has a big old bag of money, that whole thing. I don't even know what that whole story is. I think there would have been a better way for someone's grandma who's been here for 20 years not to get hauled off. Definitely take all the people who deserve to go that are committing crimes and targeting children.
Okay.
Now, there's going to be some overlap. It's not going to be perfect, right?
But surely you understand the problem with that, though. Because we have birthright citizenship right now. You can't let anybody illegally in here. Because the second they have a baby, now it's a problem. That's the problem with illegal immigration and birthright citizenship. You can have one or the other. So, I would be willing to give out, because I'm an immigrant that came over here the right way and did it the right way. So I have no sympathy on this side. If you came over here illegally, get the fuck out. Your first action on this soil cannot be to break the law. And that's the problem I have when people say like, oh, well, we should, let go of the criminals and stuff first. Jordan, by definition, they're all criminals.
I'm talking about the serious offenders.
Who's to decide what's serious?
I just think
Because I think coming into a land that's not yours without permission is serious.
I think there was a better way to do that.
I agree. But what options do they have when the previous president let in 8 to 20 million immigrants over in 4 years?
Then you have to overcorrect. Yeah. And it sucks how some of that's going to fall. And, but
because I could also say that Trump is using a lot of restraint by not issuing the Insurrection Act.
So here's something people do get offended about is when you look at Europe and you look at all these other countries where different religions, specifically Muslims, have moved in, especially France. There are good Muslims. There are really good Muslims. There are really good Muslims that are really good human beings. And then there's that underground version that if you're not careful, you might be letting in the Trojan horse. And that's for any group. If somebody wanted to infiltrate your country over the long haul, they can. And that's what some people think this mayor in New York is doing, honestly. Some of them are like, they attacked us on 9/11, now they're going to have a mayor. Which, depending on who you are, is an interesting conversation point.
It's a broad comment to say they attacked us on 9/11.
So,
Jordan.
Borders are important in that aspect. Yeah, I know where you're going with that. But you got to be careful who you let in internally because they don't think as in my lifetime and your lifetime. They think 200, 300 years down the line. They think in ways of, and people don't like this, they think of replacing a region over a long period of time. As you said, as they keep having kids. And, not all of them are bad people, but, it's like not all Christians are bad people, but there's bad Christians too.
Can I make a comment? You could be the holiest of holy people. You could be the smartest motherfucker I know. If you came over here illegally, I want you out. Say what you want about my stance on illegal immigration. At least I'm fair. You're 90, you're a grandma, you came over here illegal, out. You're 15, you're a girl, and you're trying to seek asylum and all that stuff. Did you go through the proper channels? No, get out.
So it's...
Because you either have laws or you don't. If you don't enforce the laws, why legislate them?
But think of those countries I'm talking about. I know I'm taking like a side piece there. France is not as big as the United States, so there's more space for these people to dissipate. So they're harder to locate, harder
within
to get
America.
Out. Yeah.
Not really, because where are they all going?
But what if
But Jordan, not really. Where are they all going? Are they going to St. Louis, Missouri, Jordan?
No, you wouldn't think so.
Where are they going, Jordan?
Bigger cities.
Where, Jordan?
I would say New York, Chicago, L.A.,
Texas? Austin?
Well, yeah, they're all over Texas.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was looking for big cities.
So what I'm trying to say is, when we say that they're like, oh, they're spread out in America, no, they're not. No, they're not. That's why you go to Chicago, and that's why you go downtown New York, and that's why you go to California.
Well, you're talking the majority.
Because that's where they're at.
But there's some, like even that live in the Midwest.
It's the minority. You start with the bigger fish. Take them out first.
Yep. So immigration is a weird thing because it is a national security thing, depending on
You know what happened today? Walmart is pausing all of their H-1Bs ever since Trump came out with the $100,000 a year. Sorry, $100,000 per H-1B license fee / whatever you'd call it, tariff, whatever. They're pausing all H-1Bs, which is proof that these people are not needed. That you could easily hire Americans. You were talking about earlier about like displacement of like work and labor and all that stuff. Well, it starts with being able to bring in illegal immigrants and pay them an unfair wage, artificially dropping. The reason why you're not paid more, Jordan, is because someone else is willing to do it for less. The problem is if they're not a U.S. citizen, less could be infinitely less. Less could be, I'm not going to pay you, but I have an apartment and you can live there for free so that you can have your kids and then they're citizens and your life is going to be shit and you're going to be my slave for your entire adult life, but your child can have a better life. You want to come over to America? That's what's happening with illegal immigrants. People think that it's sympathetic and empathetic, but the problem is if there's ever been someone who's like at fault for illegal immigration to be propagated, it's actually the employer. This is actually where capitalism is slightly at fault because you can bring in all these illegal immigrants, but if you don't allow them the opportunities to work and function, they'll at least eventually break laws and get caught and then deported. The problem is they are finding work. you're a roofer, you're a gardener, and all these other things that we talk about like ad nauseum with Mexicans, right? The problem is someone is hiring them. And those employers need to be ostracized from society and punished with the fullest extent of the law. Because we have amendments against slavery. And what you're doing is modern day slavery.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so I'm not cool with that shit.
I don't agree with you. But
if you're here illegally, get the fuck out. That's my stance. Get the fuck out. And if you don't want to self-deport, cool. I will, my $85,000, you want to know where I want some of that money to go? To get you the fuck out of my country. That's what I want. And I am the immigrant. I'm the one who came here legally. I'm the one that did it right. I'm the one that went to school here, that assimilated to Western culture, that learned the language. I speak English better than most Americans. I came here, I got my education, I had my family here, I got married here, I paid my taxes here, I made businesses here, I hire Americans. Fuck you, get out of my country. That's my stance. Come here legally. Now, if you want to have talk about the adjudication process, about legal immigration, about how we could better fund this and do that, I'm all here for that. But that does not mean that because the system is broken, you just do whatever the fuck you want. It's the same thing with Medicare, not Medicare, but the Affordable Care Act. Well, what else, Ariane? Well, this is bad. This is bad. We can all agree this is bad. But we'd have nothing else, right?
Yeah,
okay,
they never
that's
really
fine.
put something up that was any good.
Okay, so like then let's do it right. But like the reaction is not like, well, let's subsidize ACA because there's nothing else. No, let's just do it right. Well, immigration is broken, so they have to come in illegally. No, let's fix immigration. Well, we just don't have enough money in Social Security, so like you'll only get $1,500 when you're 80. Well, then let's fix it. You live in the most abundant country in the world with the economic opportunities that previous generations couldn't even have dreamed of. And you're telling me that if it comes to funding a fucking forever war, we got the money for days,
Yeah.
but I can't fix immigration. I can't fix education. I can't fix our infrastructure. I can't fix our power struggle. I can't fix fucking anything with all this money. I can't. This makes no fucking sense.
Well, and that's where I kind of like the idea of country first, take care of home first. But I don't see that
Are you
action.
America first?
Yeah, but I don't see that action lining up when we're sending money elsewhere still.
Soft power versus hard power. There's like a nuanced conversation to have there. But do we need $1 trillion?
Well, and the
a
farmer,
year?
Well, the
Can
farmers,
the Pentagon pass an audit? One. Can they pass one audit? I'm not even asking for two. One?
Well, it's like now the farmers are pissed because we're going to be buying beef from Argentina.
Yeah. I love these conversations.
Yeah, I know. I can tell.
That I care about this country. I want my children to grow up here. There's nowhere else I want to live. I want to die in America.
It's hard to know where it's going to go because there needs to be a better alternative. And for right now, I just don't see that one coming up. Actually,
better alternative than America or within America? Sorry.
Within America, like in the political parties. They just kind of suck. Because,
well, I will say this. Republicans are better than Democrats. The alternative is happening right now. Because God forbid Kamala would have been president.
That was a shit show.
I agree.
The whole thing.
But what I'm trying to say is like when you make the comment of like, well, something needs to change, I would say that this is step one in that. Donald Trump got elected, and thank God.
Well, the people that don't understand how and why just aren't listening. Like
Agreed.
One thing I've learned as I've gotten older is, people that I usually when I was younger, I'd have been like, you're wrong, shut up. Now I go, well, why do you think that?
Yeah. Most people don't know why they think that.
There's two guys from my hometown. They've been going back and forth. One is just all quoting scripture, and this other one's an atheist, and they're butting heads. And I finally, they were going at it for days on multiple posts, and I finally put on there, and I'm like, I'm just going to be the voice of moderation. I haven't talked to you guys in a while, but I know if I needed a hand, both of you would help me because you're both individually good people, even though you see the world different. And I was like, you guys are turning this into a competition, and we don't need competitions. We just need conversations because you came to what you believe because of your lived experience. And maybe if we listened why, we would understand more of why people think we do. Because when you double down on what you're saying and just throw it back, like when you fundamentally disagreed on something and I just kept repeating the same shit, you're not going to come meet me any which way. You're going to go further. So
I don't think people want to change their thought. I think they have this cognitive dissonance and they enjoy thinking that the way they think is right. I think it brings them pleasure.
No, it's just too nuanced. It's way too nuanced.
I think it's always been the same amount of nuance. I just think the megaphones have never been louder.
I think people just don't pay attention to the nuance, so they're just, this is my team, and I don't feel like I have a team.
Yeah.
It's
yeah, that's fair.
But I'm not going to align with really either side. You know, it's
You want to know what my team is, Jordan?
Team America, World
Yeah.
Police.
Yeah. America, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, like my team is that. My
Well,
team is America.
And that's the thing. I don't feel like that's the vision now and the goal for most people. They just want their tribe or team to win under the guise of this is what will make everybody better. And most of it seems like if I get what I want and they don't get what they want, then we're going to be good.
No, I think it goes back to the economic scarcity. I think a lot of people our age are scared because they don't have economic opportunities. And
Yeah.
I think you solve all of these problems. Every single thing that we talked about, education, the indoctrination of children, spending money abroad, and all these other things, all of them would be solved with better economics. And that economics, it goes back to the same question I asked you, that the economic strife that we are feeling today, whose fault is it? It's the fault of the government. It's the fault of the government. And that means both red and blue. It was
They've
the fault
each had
of
a turn.
Bush Jr., it was the fault of Obama, it was the fault of Trump 1, Biden, Trump 2. All their faults so far. Some presidents have done better than others. Some legislative bodies at the time have done better than others. But cumulatively, it has gotten worse, substantially worse. And there is no one else to blame than the person that you put in A or B for when you elect them every 4 years and every 2 years.
Well, and you know, what has really gone down in price since you've grown up? So it's hard to see it going
Porn.
down.
Porn has. Porn's free now. Hallelujah. Drugs. If I want to get high, it's never been easier, never been cheaper.
Yeah, you can go to what looks
I
like an
wanna get
Apple
drunk.
store for it now.
Yeah.
That was interesting, is that drinking is down in this country. Did you see that?
Yeah, it's because it's a direct inverse correlation between marijuana usage.
Yeah.
So the youngest generation at this time is the lowest consumption of alcohol, but the highest consumption of marijuana. They're not better or worse. They're just a different drug.
It's just weird, but
No, it's great. The whiskey market is absolutely crashing. I can get bottles of whiskey that used to be like $300 for like $100 now. It's great. So someone benefits.
yeah, I just hope there's more solutions to come, and I would like to see next year, I would like to see a competitive midterm with rational people to run, to actually kind of get a middle ground voice, but they're not going to do that.
I think it's going to be a Republican stomping because of the new redistricting and because of the Democratic response. And the fact that it's been so lackluster, I think that the Republicans are going to gain many seats and gain much more power. And I think the Democrats are going to have to look withinward and start to ask themselves questions like, what the fuck do we
They
represent?
should have been doing that
are
years
we?
ago.
Yeah, but the problem is you were right when you said that there's poor leadership. There's no leadership right now. Who's the leader of the Democratic Party? Who's their figurehead?
Well, right now they're trying to make it Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, have fun with that.
Well, and actually he's done a good job because he's actually paid attention to what, you know, people have done before, and he's on podcasts and he's having conversations. So even if people disagree with him, they're like, oh, well, at least he's going in these areas.
What
under fire.
podcast has he had? What podcast has he been on outside of his own?
He's been on, hasn't he done a few of them, more interviews and stuff?
With who?
Didn't he sit down? He sat down with like,
But do you understand why I'm asking that
well, I
question?
don't subscribe to it. I just
know,
know.
but the reason
I know
I'm
he was
asking
getting
that
credit
question
for
is,
that.
has he been on any like combative podcasts that will like beg the questions with him? No. He's been on left-leaning podcasts, Pod Save America, and all these other places.
Oh, see, I thought he was sitting down with like
If he
Tucker
sits
and all that
down,
stuff.
if he sits
Or
down,
people like that.
if he sits down with a Tucker Carlson, his political career is over. Over. The reason why liberals can't debate is because the majority of their policies either overextend in financial usage from conservative values, meaning we can do all this stuff for people, but we're gonna have to take more money from you. That's not fair. That's not fair. Meritocracy owns, and there's nothing more meritocracy than capitalism until it turns to crony capitalism. Fair there. Agree with you there. But the reason why liberals can't debate a lot of their stances is because it eventually will somehow like lead to, well, and that's why we need more money from you.
They do a bad job of messaging. And actually, I watch Bill Maher.
No, they do a bad job of executing.
Well, they all do a bad job of executing.
Agreed, but at least under Republican presidents, I have more money.
But I watch Bill Maher pretty much every week. He's there because he has a little bit of everybody. I really like his show.
I do too.
And he says he invites everybody, and the hardest ones to get on
are Democrats.
Yes. And that's why I like his show, because obviously he's a classic liberal, but I feel like he's definitely more moderate than what people would think. And so they ostracize him for that.
Yeah, I'm going to end with this, if you don't mind. I don't know if you know what the All In podcast is.
I've heard of it, yeah.
Okay, it's a great podcast, one of my favorite personally. If you love finance, if you love technology, if you love investment, it's going to scratch that itch for you. But once a year they do this like All In Summit, or actually they do it like I think 2 times a year now. And they had Tucker Carlson on the stage at one point with Mark Cuban, and they were talking about Ukraine. And Mark Cuban had said the line of like, well, we should be sending this $100 billion to Ukraine so they can defend themselves. And Tucker asked a very simple question. Tucker goes, okay, you give them your money then. How about the people that think we should be defending Ukraine and funding Ukraine? You give them your money to fund it and fund it. And Mark Cuban kind of like was taken aback by this statement. Like, well, you know, obviously like we have to come together. He's like, yeah, but like the problem is, Mark, you're saying this thing, like we should do this. But when you say we, that incorporates my money. That incorporates our money. And every time we spend $100 billion here, we're not spending $100 billion to help Jordan buy his first house, to help Ariane start a business, maybe he needs an SBA loan, to help Adam get higher education for free. There are things that I think we can do for free and that we should do for free. I do think that we should have free education. I think we should have free healthcare. And when I say free, it's with full acknowledgement that someone somewhere is going to have to pay. Yeah. But I think that if a nation is strong, they truly want a robustly intellectual and physically healthy populace. If you have these things, you're unstoppable. So why don't we have these things? That's the question. Why don't we have these things? We have the money for every fucking thing else. We can print $40 trillion and have none of these things.
Because that money.
You know what, dude? If we were $40 trillion, we had the best roads, the best schools, all this other shit. Do you think we'd be bitching? Well, maybe a deficit.
Yeah, they find a reason. They'd
probably find a reason. I'm just saying, we're $40 trillion and we have none of these things. What the fuck have we been spending our money on? I think that's a fair question.
Yeah, other countries.
So that's the thing. That's my thing about like, that's why I can't get with any Democrats, because no one wants to ask the question of how do we spend our money now? It's always, let's take more money from you. You have shown to me that you don't know how to spend this money. You've proven that to me, both Republicans and Democrats. At the very least, at least the Republicans are giving me more of my money back. That's why I voted Trump. When RFK Jr. stepped down, I was like, well, under Kamala, they're going to take more of my money. Under Trump, they'll take less of my money. And my life will only get better so long as I have more money. So I choose Trump. There was a very simple calculus in that. All the other things, like abortion, all these other things, it didn't come down to that. It came to more money, less money.
Well, and one thing I do want to kind of push back on is he said he would get the price of goods down. They ain't down.
You can't get the price of goods down. What you can do is you can get down the percent in which they're increasing in price.
Well, it's, you know, when energy prices were going down, then the cost should have come down because your transportation to get them there and all that.
Not necessarily. That's not how that works all the time. You're correct in certain assumptions that energy is the main cause of, like the leading cost of the things that you buy is energy. Correct. But it doesn't necessarily equal correlation, because also you have to take into consideration supply and demand.
Yeah,
and external forces. Like when eggs went up, they didn't talk about how there was like this raging poultry flu, and that the eggs went bad on their own. Like it had nothing to do with Trump. So like you had this
was going on last year too.
Yeah, but I'm trying to say though, like when the narrative was like, oh, eggs are up 50% or whatever. It's like, yeah, dude, because sometimes there's things that happen that are irrespective of presidents, of legislation. Shit happens. If you have like a poultry epidemic where a bunch of chickens are dying from some disease, what do? Yeah. Chickens are going to be more expensive.
Well, and that one I agree, but let's be consistent with it, because that was going on last year too, when everybody was bitching about eggs.
100%, but that's like the political narrative.
Yeah, so,
I'm not justifying it because it was under a Trump administration. I would have said the same thing under Biden.
Yeah, what I'm saying is like.
By the way, Biden should not be at fault for that 10% year-over-year inflation. That was going to be the natural cause of the money that we printed from COVID. So like when people talk about like, oh, Biden's so bad at this, 10% year-over-year inflation. Yeah, well, you can't print $6 trillion in 4 years, dude.
It'd have been interesting to see if a second term in a row would happen for Trump and all that hit, how he would have been looked at then, you know. But that's a different world.
I think it's very curious.
I mean, that bill would have been due for anybody.
I think it's very curious that in one election cycle, the Democrats lost 7 million votes. I think that's curious.
This is, isn't it? That's because 7 million people died from COVID, don't you know?
I know one thing for sure. This video is going to get no views because now I'm going to get pushed down in the algorithm for this. But
we said all the code words.
Yeah, we're going to get the COVID.
We didn't say
tag.
the country, though, did we? We didn't say the country that starts with an I. Ends with an
oh.
No.
Some people don't think it's real, but it's real. Dude, this was a joy. I'm going to be there Saturday night. I'm going to be on the stage. I cannot wait to watch you fight.
Match.
Now you're a black belt, dog. That's high level. That's a fight to me. I told you.
First degree comes here January. I've had it for 3 years in January. It's kind of crazy to think.
That is pretty cool. Before we call it, man, by the way, thank you for being on. This is your third time on. So
do I hold the record currently?
I think 3 is the record. You and Evan Elder and Greg Tabor. But I had to take that episode down because the employer got mad.
Oh.
We went, bro, Greg is like one of the guys that like reads more than me. And I would say on average is more intellectual than I am. And he's able to just fuck.
I think I started that one and then I never was able to get back to it.
Well, it's gone now.
Yeah. It was like a Snapchat podcast.
Before we call it, man, anything you want to talk about?
No, pretty much got it all there. So.
Have you met Kelvin yet? Have you when is he coming to town? Thursday?
Yeah, Adam's taking him out to dinner Thursday. So, and actually,
is Adam taking you out to dinner?
No.
What the fuck, Adam?
He's got to wine and dine the other talent, but we have an agreement. Like no big heel hooks or anything. I ain't trying to cause this dude a big fight or nothing. So I'll have a conversation with him beforehand. Yeah, it's like everybody wants to hunt the legs, and there's so much other shit you could do. Like I got some leg attacks I can do, and I'll just tell him if these are coming. It's not anything to shred your knee. I appreciate you being here because it's a name that I wouldn't have had before, and I'm coming for you though.
Well,
so hopefully he gets some emos and all that stuff. And actually, he has a seminar at ESMMA the next day. So
that's funny.
Yeah, it's
Eric does a really good job of like coordinating that with people. But I know.
Well, that was Adam that set that up, and
Eric,
it's $75 for people to go and just learn from a guy that's got some of the best fights you've ever seen. So,
one in the Hall of Fame.
Yes. Yep.
Jordan, I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate your banter. I appreciate your openness to have a transparent conversation, and I appreciate your friendship.
I appreciate it as well, man. And the scar on my face you gave me.
It's not my fault. You have a very hittable face.